has kicked 2 in the game so far. Driving ball forward. Oh! Sampi!
Basically, I was on the other side of the pocket, and I just wanted to get across and help Embers out because he was always by himself, and I think I ran too quickly and I jumped early, and before I knew it, I was on top of Embers, and Uze sort of pushed me up again.
That is one of the best I've ever seen, Brian.
He got the lift and then got the catapult on top of it.
Before the game, I knew I was going to play on him, and I got told that he has got a bit of a leap and watch his run. If he gets a run at it, try and just block his run. And that instance, he just got in front of me, and I could feel that he was going to go up for a mark, so I just tried to push him in the back and just see if I gave away a free kick, I gave away a free kick, and ended up just pushing him up and taking one of the greatest marks I've ever seen.
And it was the greatest mark any of us saw in season 2004. Ashley Sampi claiming the mark of the year against Melbourne back in round 7 last season. As we take a look at the weather, 15 degrees in Melbourne, perfect conditions for football, good crowd coming in, and a great game coming up. As I welcome North Melbourne Premiership player, fresh from a run in the Whitten Legends game on Wednesday night. Good afternoon and welcome to Wayne Schwass.
Is there any reason why I'm sitting down and you two esteemed gentlemen are standing up? But that mark, there was a lot of Tony Shaw about that mark, actually, Sampi. Tony?
I haven't been that. I was that high this morning when I was in the plane coming back from Adelaide, but fantastic mark, wasn't it?
Adam Uze skippering the side this afternoon. He's won the toss. The D's will kick to the city end, the right of screen in the opening term as we head down to 1995 Carlton Premiership player. Boundary side, good afternoon, Glenn Manton.
Good afternoon, Jason. Well, this could be one of the great football mozzers of all time, but I'd like to go on record and say that Russell Robinson could be the key to today's game. Be very interested to hear what Wayne Schwass has to say. With 21 marks to this point in the season, contested marks that is, he is the key to goal-kicking prowess in the Melbourne forward line, and I'm not sure that the West Coast Eagles have the ideal matchup for him.
And Russell Robertson, Schwatter, booted 13 goals in his last 3 games against West Coast. Bags of 5, 5 and 3, so they haven't had the answers for him the last few times they've played him either.
No, and he's not an easy player to mark because, as we know, he loves to just about fly for everything that comes his way. And in the absence of David Nish, you'll think that he'll go for everything this afternoon. And let's hope we might see another Ashley Sampi mark.
Not too much to ask, is it? There's Ben Cousins in fantastic form, averaging 27 possessions a game in season 2005. Just so many great matchups to look forward to, Tony, and fantastic to hear both coaches during the week talking up the fact that it's going to be a shootout. It's not going to be defensive. They're both going to go head-to-head and take each other on and see just where they're at.
It's really a test pattern, isn't it, for these two sides, that they can go into this game and see if they release everybody, a couple of tags here and there, but not be too defensive. I'm looking down at the Melbourne forward line. We can see there Nicholson and also young Ferguson going into defence. But for Melbourne, Holland, Uze, Robinson, Davey, Miller, and it looks like Brad Green, who we know is a beautiful kick for goal, will start as a full forward for Melbourne.
Daniel Chick with the big job on Adam Uze off the back of 5 goals to Adam Uze last week against the Magpies only 5 days ago.
Great atmosphere building here at the Melbourne Cricket Ground. Thanks for having us at your place. Looking forward to an absolute cracker on Saturday afternoon football. Round 13, top of the table blockbuster. We're underway. West Coast taking on Melbourne at the MCG. 2 of the great ruckmen of the competition go head-to-head. White versus Cox. White got the secondary tap down to Johnston. Run down by Stenglein. Under pressure. It's going to be hot early, you'd feel. White to Bruce. Tumbles inside 50 for the first time. Wirapunda tracks back. He'll get there first for West Coast. Dishes off to Staker. He pokes it down the line and finds Kerr at right half back. Kerr down the line, good searching lead from Hansen. Pressure came from Rivers. 2 of the great young key position players of the competition, Hansen versus Rivers, another contest to look forward to.
Fantastic matchups already. Glass has gone to Ben Holland, as you said, Chick on Uze, and Wirapunda will play on Aaron Davey.
White versus Cox, Embley at the front, got the tap. Tracking towards the line. Judd tries to keep it alive, does so to Fletcher. Now Kerr. Big names getting involved early. And here's Judd again, 65 from home. 34 possessions and 3 Brownlow votes the last time these two sides played. Chris Judd. Looks to load it up. Goes to the top of the 50. Awkward looking kick. Missed everything by a fair way. Creates an opportunity for Lynch to run onto it. Hands it off to Cox. Matera a long way from home. Pumps it inside 50. Numbers there for the Eagles. Punched away by Ferguson. Here's Judd through 2 tackles and snaps and hits the post. Only needs half a chance. Chris Judd just clipped the woodwork on the way through, but he just put the foot down and found that 6th gear that we know he's got.
Well, just magnificent work through traffic, and he's so hard to tackle, isn't he? He's got a strong body, a strong core, and also with that electrifying speed, a very hard man to tackle.
Wheatley to Nicholson in the pocket. First score to Chris Judd. We talk about electrifying pace, Tony. We'll see that on display here at the MCG. 1 against 2. Travis Johnson has found himself into a rich vein of form recently. He's got himself fit, according to the coach. His diet's right. His results are starting to show. Heads down the line towards McDonald. Embley there to put pressure on. Both players overrun the ball, and there's a whistle on play. Embley, the recipient of a free kick. Got Cousins in support. Not the best handball, but he has time, the skipper. Measures the kick. Hansen in front. That's a good, strong mark. A long way from home. Early stages, first term. Embley wide. No closer to goal, though. Plenty of numbers back for the Demons defenders. Embley bangs it inside 50. Poor kick, though. Filling the hole on this occasion, Ryan Ferguson.
Ferguson, the 23-year-old from Frankston, playing game number 29 this afternoon. Awkward looking kick outside 50. Bounces off Jones. Robertson gathers. Here's Judd again. Couldn't quite gather possession as Glass gives it to Fletcher. Steps inside a tackle. Spears inside 50. It's wide, but it's straight, and it finds Matera. West Coast controlling the football early. 17 touches to 6. And Phil Matera can go back and shoot for the first goal of the afternoon. Difficult angle. 45 out on the boundary line, but as we know, Phil can kick them from anywhere. They have been a very good starting side, West Coast. Matera, deliberate in the approach. Deliberate in the attempt.
Magnificent.
Super start for the Eagles. Well, big games bring the class to the top, Tony, and that was a classy finish.
Well, we know he can do it. I've just watched the midfield for about the first 5 minutes of this game, and everybody's got a lot of space, so a lot of the tags aren't happening at the moment. Just who's going to get the best start? Will one coach shut down on someone else? But Phil Matera, I think one of the best small forwards who has played the game in the last decade. Probably doesn't get all the kudos he does from Victorian-based people, but fantastic finish.
4 goals won last week against the Bombers at Subiaco. Has won for the afternoon, Phil Matera. Just the start for the Eagles. We're back in the middle. Cox to Kerr, hurriedly. Bounces inside the square. Hansen towards his skipper in Cousins. He's wrapped up by 2 Demon players and will have a bounce inside the centre square. Eagles by 7.
Wayne, I just noticed Ben Cousins is starting as a forward, and Wheatley goes to Ben Cousins. He then pushes it in the midfield. That is not a good matchup for Melbourne.
One to watch. All picked up, Tony Shaw. White and Cox. Like that all day, you'd expect. Coming through McDonald. Has support. Brown. Short kick, McLean. Can go to Bruce if he's quickly enough. Yes, he is. Heads towards 50. Holland got his hands to it. No mark. Play on. Glass cleans up for the moment. It's got Embley. In short, Cox. Got a couple of runners. Kerr, he'll finally get it. He's got Staker there. Out the outer side of the ground. He's got support and Wirapunda. Staker goes to kick. Good kick towards Edwards. Well, a number of West Coast players there. One was Cousins, short to Hansen. He's becoming a bit of a headache for Jared Rivers. 60 from goal. Towards the goal square. Lynch, Judd's there too. Dangerous, coming through Kerr. And we'll have a throw in. Right up against the right forward behind post for the Eagles. Entries inside 50, 4-1 in favour of the Eagles at the moment.
Just been very tidy so far, precise with their disposal in the main. They've had a lot more of it. 25-10. Here's Matera again, lurking, snapping to the line. Lynch got a hand to it, through for a minor score. Phil Matera, just 10 goals in his first 8 games this season. A rare form slump for him, but in the last 2 weeks booted 5 goals and 4 goals, and he's looking dangerous again this afternoon.
Yeah, Matthew Whelan's got the job, and Matthew Whelan loves to run off half-back and give some attacking moves to Melbourne. He mightn't be able to do that as much today playing on Phil Matera.
Wheatley gains some territory and thumps it long up the middle. Rivers is the target. One-on-one with Hanson. McDonald at ground level couldn't quite reel it in. Braun, Stenglein, forward to Fletcher's got some space to work in here. If he can get past Johnston, he can't. Travis Johnston sticks the tackle. Here's Edwards at 55. Good smother put on him by Johnston. Went back for a second effort. Here's Judd. Slips away from White. Inside 50 and finds Kerr.
Chris Judd, take a bow. Again, the Melbourne players, he just gets down so low and he's got so much power in his body around his hips.
It was a great effort from Travis Johnston, wasn't it?
This is Edwards having a kick on goal, and he likes to kick from a long way out, and a great smother by Travis Johnson, but then Judd came through that pack.
Just rolled his shoulders, got it to Kerr, and Kerr misses. West Coast doing all the attacking early on. They are getting busy. Possession tally now up to 30-11. They are controlling the football in the early stages. Johnston short.
The other matchup problem is Clint Bizzle is playing on Chad Fletcher, so they've got Fletcher and Cousin playing as small forwards, and they'll just go in the midfield and take those players in there at any time. It doesn't suit Melbourne.
Clever coaching from John Worsfold to mix it up early. McDonald, McLean, Ferguson it was, got it to Bizzle. Uncertain of his options, he'll now go to McLean. Puts Bruce under pressure, back to Brock McLean, followed up well. Spears a kick, missed the target of Miller, went past Hunter as well. Could work for the D's. Nathan Brown, it's a 3-on-3. Over the top comes Wirapunda. At the front of the contest, Glass. Tackle from Robertson. Jones happy to take it to the line. Umpire says throw it in. Played 8 1/4 minutes. It's the Eagles by 9 points. A couple of young guns on the bench for Melbourne, and Sylvia and Maloney itching to get into this contest.
Holland. Green extracts the ball, heads towards the boundary line. We'll go again inside the Demons forward 50. They're yet to score.
The Eagles are still going with that forward line. Chad Fletcher and Ben Cousins behind the play, Wheatley and Bizzle. So at ground level, they'll be too quick, but in the air, Melbourne might have the advantage.
Cox got 2 hands to the ball, only as far as McLean. Embley might have hung on in the tackle. Now wants holding the ball. It's got to come out. Holland. Intended for Bruce. Somehow Uze off a step. Adam Uze, tight angle. This is first score for Adam Uze and Melbourne. 1 behind. They're on the board. Just under 7 minutes. But obviously, Tony, the Eagles have identified the Demons will be sore and tired after a 5-day break. Important to get off to a good start inside the first term.
And they have done that.
We're Punter up the middle. Haven't put it on the scoreboard yet, though, so the damage has been minimised for Melbourne. They aren't controlling the footy, but West Coast aren't punishing them yet. Braun went looking for Stenglein. Chance now for Holland. To Green. Bizzle looks to 50. He's got Johnson right at the 50. The kick was ambitious. Maloney. Bruce. Johnston, title against the line. Tries to square it up. Went looking for Holland. Big man gathered below his knees, but Wirapunda. In over the top came Davey.
That's
wrapped it up and gone.
He was a bit unlucky, wasn't he? He fumbled and then dived on the ball after he fumbled, but that's what pressure does to you, and as a defender, you can ill afford to make, well, fumble in the first place, and when he dived on the ball, the umpire had no hesitation in holding the ball with the new interpretation.
Aaron Davey burst onto the scene last year, booting 28 goals after coming off the rookie list. He's kicked 17-15 this season. Chance for Melbourne's first. Davey converts. Demons on the board at the G. Good result for Melbourne. West Coast controlling the football for much of the opening 10 minutes, but no damage done.
No, and I think it's his 2nd or 3rd game back from injury, David Wirapunda, where he was out of the game for a long time. He just got ahead of himself there, was going to handball. The ball came off the top of the fingertips, but the umpire's got no doubt in his mind that he has to pay that free kick once he dived back on the ball.
Well, he's 1 goal. His 1 goal equals his efforts from the round 22 game from last year. 4 possessions and 1 goal. Aaron Davey on the board. Melbourne with their first. Cox. Johnson. He'll have his work cut out with his shadow this afternoon. Tyson Stenglein. Embley Haven't cleared the centre circle yet. Now Bruce does. The ball will bounce inside 50. Holland getting back. Got a shove in the back and wins himself a free kick.
Darren Glass was caught behind the big body of Ben Holland. He's done some good things in the packs. Matter of fact, when there's a throw in a ball up in Melbourne's forward line, he takes the ruck work and Jeff White goes to the square, just trying to stretch the defence of West Coast.
Well, he's got 6 centimetres and 10 kilos on the likes of Darren Glass.
Yeah, it's a lot.
He's a big boy, Ben Holland.
And Darren Glass should remember that new interpretation again of just using your hands to push forward. Every time you do that, it's going to be a free kick.
Ben Holland hasn't kicked a goal in the last fortnight. This for his first. For the Demons' second. Stuttering approach. Holland comes in and nails it. The Demons have 2.
Well, 2 goals from free kicks, but well done to Ben Holland. He has to stand up today with no David Neitz in the forward line, and you just cannot use your hands in a pushing motion from behind. And as I said, there was a ball up before in the 50. He did the ruck work and he followed up and got the handball out. And it just meant he's got his mind right today and he needs to stand up for Melbourne. But well done on that occasion, and he's just going to play in front all day, giving away, well, having an advantage of a lot more height.
We mentioned Melbourne, the best converting team in the competition. Once it gets inside 50, they are the best at converting into goals. They've gone inside 4 times for 2 goals won so far. White and Cox, bit of volleyball in the middle. Green gets it going forward for Melbourne. Davey taken out of the contest will get a free kick.
I don't know about David Wirraponda playing on Aaron Davey. David Wirraponda again likes to set up the West Coast Eagles. Davey, a very dangerous forward.
To the lead of Robertson. He's got it 40 metres out. Kickable angle. And after West Coast dominated the opening 10 minutes, the last 3 or 4 minutes have been all Melbourne.
It has, and they've got the centre bounce clearances. Travis Johnson, Brad Green out of the centre. But again, David Wirraponda, I don't know, you'll have a look at it, Wayne, because I think Drew Banfield's the one who normally plays that role for West Coast.
Robertson starts at left and works it back. Melbourne have got 3 on the trot. Great result for the D's. Dean Cox goes to the boundary line. Here's Glenn Manton.
Prior to the game, Jason, the Melbourne forwards were very specific in their goal-kicking practice. Only the Melbourne forwards came out on the ground before the game, and it's reflecting on the scoreboard now.
Well, Wayne, how do you see that? With David Wirraponda, sometimes you think, and it's like Matthew Whelan up the other end on Peter Matera, they maybe haven't got another match-up, Melbourne, but Drew Bamford's built a tagging player. He's slower, but he knows how to position himself and release Wirraponda.
Well, obviously he thinks that pace might be a concern for Drew Banfield,
yeah.
but if Aaron Davey continues to find the ball and poses himself as a threat, you might see that move, Tony. We're back in the middle after the Melbourne side have kicked the last 3 goals. Here they go again. Johnston. Ball spills free. Embley towards Seaby. He left it for Wirraponda. They haven't cleared it just yet. Goes backwards to Embley. He's got Stengline camped at centre half back. He's got Fletcher further afield. Has time, can link it over the top to his captain if he wants to. Decides to cut back inside the centre corridor. Goes towards Lynch. Dropping back, reading it well, was Jared Rivers, and the Demons defenders relieved for the moment.
Massive plays streaming all over the ground at the moment. Some hard running on both sides. Holland the target on centre wing. Wants to give it off quickly. Handball went looking for Maloney, missed the body. Brown under pressure. Kerr wrapped up by Holland. Umpire will call for a bounce just forward of the centre, Melbourne's way.
Tony, you can often tell how a mindset of a player is. Ben Holland got himself in front, won a free kick, but that tackle indicates he's on today.
He is.
Hand over the shoulder from White. Umpire called play on. Embley. Handball to Fletcher. Pushed as he kicked. Bounce towards half forward. Wheatley one-on-one with Staker. Hanson and Rivers arrive as well. Wheatley holds the ball to Staker. Umpire will bounce.
Now you look for a perfect matchup, and you would think Wheatley on Staker, as in height, speed, everything they do in football. You can look at them just standing together. Magnificent matchup.
Seaby the tap. Jeff White, awkward kick, ineffective. Embley pokes it down the line, gains some territory. Here is Wheatley. Fletcher to run him down, takes him to the line. Umpire says throw it in. Melbourne by 10 points after West Coast kicked the opening goal through Phil Matera. Seaby against White. White took it out of the ruck, got boot to ball quickly into the centre of the ground. Chance for the electrifying Davey. He could run onto this, cutting across his glass. Davey burns him off, goes for home and kicks a goal!
Magnificent play.
Beautiful football from Aaron Davey.
Well, I don't know what happened, but David Wirapunda was back at full back on Brad Green, and Embley was playing on Davey in the centre square. How that match-up occurred, I'm not too certain, but it just did not suit because Embley wasn't goal side. He hasn't got a great defensive thought process, and you cannot allow that space in front of Davey running towards goal. But David Wirapunda, he has to stay on Davey every minute of this game if that's his job.
And he knew he was done for speed, Wirapunda. He was pointing at glass saying, you've got to play the angle, you've got to try and get across and cut him off because I can't run him down.
Demons with 4 in a row. Their tails are up. Fletcher. And he gets it as far as McLean. Goes towards Maloney. Well, the Eagles player zoned off. Maloney with strength. Could this be the 5th in a row? No. No score. Throw in. Tighten the forward pocket for the Demons, but they've answered the challenge thus far. Tony?
Well, last against Richmond, Richmond kicked 12 goals in the second half, and you know against the West Coast Eagles, they're a very offensive midfield. You can score quickly.
Hunter, third man up. Gains an extra 15 yards and will go again, still inside the Demons' forward 50.
Which partly explains the mindset, or largely explains the mindset of Neil Danaher in saying we are going to go head-to-head. We're not going to look to lock them down. We're going to try and score against them.
Of course, and he knows he's got some good matchups in defence, as in height against height, so he's got a good balance there.
Seaby. Well, he spoiled Judd, his own teammate. Fletcher's there for support. Gets it back to Judd. They're not done with yet. Stengline, well, they're still in trouble here. Packer players form.
Good pressure. Forward pressure by the D's.
Just under 8.5 minutes remaining. 16-point ball game in favour of the Demons. Robertson. Glass went without it. 2 Eagles spoil each other. Bruce couldn't get a boot to ball. Holland dished the handball out intended for Green. He's got Uze. Good pressure check. Second attempt. Did well, the Eagles defender there. Glass for support. Staker. It's a willing contest. Early stages. Holland. Chick has another go. Ball spills free. Braun sees it out of bounds for a throw-in.
Well done, Ben Holland. Really throwing his body in and again trying to lead by example. Daniel Chick, of course, has got the job on Uze, the dangerous Uze. They just have to settle down, West Coast Eagles.
Seaby in front. Maloney wrapped up by Selwood. We'll have a bounce. Ticking into time on in the opening term. Seaby another hit out. Fletcher. Kick found its way to Selwood around centre wing on the southern side. Spears it inboard. Off the hands of Cousins. Fletcher butted up again. Goes towards Edwards. Couldn't hang on. Matera at the back tries to crash through. Caught one high. He is hitting the ball at pace, Phil Matera, today. His timing is there.
Well, he's the danger player at the moment. He's leading Whelan to the ball. And Matthew Whelan, I think you've got to play at least 3 or 4 metres in front of Phil Matera and say, well, if you want to jump on top of my head, you do that, because he's only small. Doesn't take a lot of high marks, so you've just got to take that speed factor out of the equation.
Let's take another look.
Back of the pack, and had to be, yeah, Bizzle just over the nose area.
Accidental contact, but contact nonetheless. And Matera a chance to go back and boot his second.
Oh.
Uncharacteristic miss from Phil Matera. Maybe just seeing a few stars after that contact. Opportunity goes begging for West Coast. Wheatley to build from the back line. That's what he's got in front of him. A lot of players camped out around the defensive 50, so Wheatley will thump it long beyond that. Right towards the wing. Sylvia punches away from Braun, goes again himself. Ball right to the line. It's still alive at the moment. Braun carries it over. We'll have a throw in 75 metres out from the West Coast goal. With just under 6.5 minutes remaining, Melbourne fans found their voice after a flat opening 10 minutes dominated by the Eagles, but since then, Melbourne, 4 straight goals.
Jeff White held in the contest. He takes the kick.
Yeah, Mark Seavey, too easy a free kick in a big game and a hard game like this. You just got to contest. Even if he gets front position, just tackle, but pulled him off the ball.
There's a lot of one-on-one contests around the ground. Miller breaks. A little bit too much on it for him. Does he keep it in? No.
Adam Uze, who has played forward, I would think, for the last 8 weeks at Melbourne. I don't know it's a strategy, but now he has gone into this pack as a midfielder. And that means Brad Green's come to full forward, and Daniel Chick then takes over that role.
Seavey towards Judd. Handball, heard the call from Braun. He can go now. This is better. The kick will sit up. Oh, Wheatley got a hand to it. Loose ball spills. Edwards, this for the Eagles. Second. No. Well, they've been wide of the mark, Tony, but you've just got to take your chances.
You do then. Aaron Edwards, very impressive over the last fortnight. Big body, kicks the ball a mile, but that had a bit of time. Maybe could have taken another bounce, but you're not to know that. This is a pressure game, and it makes you do things which you normally wouldn't do.
Again, it was Chris Judd starting that chain for West Coast around a stoppage. Clearances at the moment, 8-7 in favour of Melbourne. That's a result that would please Neil Danaher immensely. If they can break even with West Coast today, they're a long way towards winning the game. Whelan. Kick went past everyone. Uze's got to get there and touch it. He doesn't.
Free kick.
It'll come straight back. West Coast with a free kick. It'll go to Ben Cousins.
It's only early in the game, but West Coast need a lift from Hansen and Lynch to get involved as big marking forwards. Maybe Cox might be the man to sit on top of the square for 5 minutes.
Goes to the pocket.
Yeah,
Edwards, good lead. Now needs to go back and finish. It was a revelation against Richmond. Kicked a couple of goals in his first quarter at senior level. Had 8 possessions in his opening term of league footy as Seavey comes off to be replaced by Cox.
He was cut from the list last year too, I think.
Yeah, he was on the rookie list for a couple of years, and the rules state you have to take them off and redraft them again, and that's what they did. Saw some talent in this young man, and that is why. Look at that for a kick. Didn't quite get to the line in the end. It's come belting back out for Melbourne. Uze's got it on centre wing. Kick went to the advantage of Weirpunda. Beat Davey to the football. Handball over the top for Cousins. Down the line, Selwood. A fumble, but it's got some time. Spears inside 50. Johnson's just come onto the ground for the Demons, takes the mark. Hands it off to Nathan Brown. They switch towards the members' side and find Whelan. Whelan's got McDonald working down the line. He's got some space. He'll look up. Miller will lead. He'll go further afield. Kick to the advantage of West Coast. And the ball ends up with Hunter. Stenglein. Embley pokes it wide to Braun. Braun off the left. Down the line, and Hansen's found some space. One of the rare times this afternoon.
Demons with plenty of numbers back.
Dean Cox back on the ground.
Towards, well, it's picked out Matthew Whelan beautifully. Now the Demons can go. Green. Uze breaks. Towards the top of the square. Got in front, but that's a good effort there by Chick. Follows it up, gathers a loose ball, gets it to Stenglein, the Eagles. They've got a couple of players further out. Outer side of the ground, one of which is Selwood. Kicks towards Cox in front of Johnson, and has paid the mark. No, a free kick too high.
Paul Johnson a little bit nervous today, playing against his old team, of course. And Dean Cox, I think, will push very hard forward against Paul Johnson, knowing he's got a bit of a height advantage and body strength.
Well, there's a massive players inside the Eagles forward 50. It's a high ball towards the top of the square. Loose ball. Embley hurriedly around the corner. Doesn't make the distance. Big Jack takes an easy chest mark. Gets it over to McDonald. They seem to have all the answers down there inside forward 50 for the Eagles at the moment, the Melbourne defenders and odd ballers. Wheatley can go. You need to be quick. Well, he toe pokes the ball, but it's deemed illegal. Great pressure off his knee. Paul Wheatley pleads his case, but that's good pressure from Staker. Correct decision.
So Brent Staker will load it up to the top of the square again. Big pack of players. Off the back, Matera almost had it. He's almost got it again. Will he get a free kick? He will. He's making things happen down there at the moment, Phil Matera.
He's the one, isn't he, Jason? He is the danger man for Melbourne at the moment. And the umpire said that the Melbourne players just fell on his back in the square, and he'll kick this goal. But he's done everything right. He's playing in front. He's very aggressive today.
His second and West Coast second. Important goal in the dying stages of the opening term.
Well, it was very important, very important. You know that these sides over the entirety of the game are going to have 10 minutes on, 10 minutes off, and you've got to really convert and make the most of it. And he's just... Matthew Whelan is not getting goal side, and you nearly got to pay that free kick. A couple over the shoulder, maybe one in the back. Accidental, of course, because they go in with the tackle, but, yeah, that's a free kick at any time in football. Dangerous player.
We'll just go down to Glen Mountain.
Eagles going tall in the dying minutes here with CB pushing forwards and Edwards now on the bench.
Phil Matera's first game against the Demons, round 6, 1996, 5 goals, 2. He has 2 in the first term. Kerr, off the side of his boot, favours Braun. Closing late, McDonald, got rid of that tackler. The crowd wanted ball, play on, towards centre forward on the stretch. That's a terrific mark from Staker, can go to Kerr. There's push from the centre square, loads up, pushes it wide. It's a high ball, Bizzle getting back, but the man of the moment, the smallest man in the Eagles forward line, will line up for goal number 3.
It's time for a change. Nathan Brown could just swap over before quarter time, and then they can get together, Melbourne, and make a decision on who they want to play on Phil Matera. But Matthew Whelan is just losing him, not getting goal side. On that occasion, he just doubled back and lost him in congestion.
Averages 3 goals against the Demons. And he's got his average.
It's a lone hand at the moment, isn't it, for the West Coast forward line? Just wonder whether, Neil Danaher might say we're that close to quarter time. Let's not change the system now. Let's get a quarter time and make a decision if we have to. But, 3 goals in a quarter is a small forward. It's not so much the 3 goals, Wayne, because you can get 2 handballs over the top. It's how he's done it.
Well, Melbourne got out to a 16-point lead at the 16.5-minute mark with that scintillating goal to Aaron Davey. Two late goals to Phil Matera reduces the margin to 3 points in the shadows of quarter time. Ripping contest Saturday afternoon football at the MCG. It's shaping as an absolute beauty. Cox down to Fletcher. Back to Dean Cox. West Coast having another moment here. Inside 50, Staker, difficult one to gather. Cousins spins through some traffic. Slips weakly. Still managed to find a target. Fletcher. Here's Matera again. Matera will go inside 50. On the run for goal number 4. Got it! He's on fire, fabulous Phil. Phil Matera doing it his way at the MCG. He's booted 4. West Coast have 4, and they suddenly lead by 3 points.
Well, can I take that back and say Neil Danaher should have done it 5 minutes ago. Look, fantastic individual effort when your team's struggling. You need people to stand up, and he's been the one. 4 goals in the first quarter, and he's done it by marking it twice, free kicks, and also crumbing. But he's pushed up the ground. He's a lot further away from goal. Brilliant individual effort.
Well, he had no pre-season. He had his problems with injuries. It's taken him a while, but he is back, and there's no bigger stage than the MCG. Phil Matera with 4 first quarter goals. The Eagles back in front by 3 points, and they go forward again. Fletcher, the midfielders have become involved in the last 5 minutes. Nikoski, high ball towards the goal square. CB there with Nicholson. Big Jack gets an arm around him, stays in play. Whelan, for the moment, will be happy to see it out of bounds.
I think that might have been the 3rd centre-bounce clearance in a row to West Coast Eagles. So, as I said, each side's going to have 5 to 10 minutes if you can score very quickly in this game.
Chance for one more goal. Just over a minute remaining. There's that man again, Matera. There's a whistle on play. There's a free kick. Jeff White over his shoulder. And Cox will go back and line up for the Eagles' 5th.
He's a little bit more dangerous, Dean Cox, than Jeff White by pushing forward. He just does it naturally, where Jeff White fails a fair time, needs to mark a lot more. He just had front position that time and a bigger body. And that's saying something against Jeff White.
To extend the margin to 9 points as we approach quarter time. He's got it. The Eagles have 5.
Well, they didn't need that, the D's. You know, they controlled the middle 15 minutes, and yeah, you can't hold like that in a ruck contest. And Jeff White just worried about, and look, Matera again now. If it wasn't Cox who got the free kick, Matthew Whelan does not know how to play on Phil Matera. He has to stay goal side all the time, keep bumping him, annoying him to stop him having an impact, because the more you bump them getting towards goal, they can't kick goals.
West Coast by 9 points. Who would have thought? 16.5-minute mark. It was Melbourne by 16 points. 4 unanswered goals to the Eagles. Has them in control once again. Stenglein. Bruce. Awkward kick off a step. 3 players heading towards the football at the moment, and they are all West Coast Eagles. Cox. Wirpunda. Nikoski takes off, runs away from Heffernan. Judd in all sorts of trouble, wrapped up by Davey.
Free kick against Chris Judd for a don't argue. In other words, he put his arm up and hit him across the face, Travis Johnson.
23 seconds left for Melbourne. Johnston needs to move it on. Time ticking away here for the D's. He'll go down the line to Holland. Holland needs to turn and get it inside 50. Robertson at the top of the square. Uze lurking in the pocket. Time ticking away. Time's going to beat the Demons here, you'd think. Holland inside 50. Nita Robertson mark. Can't do so at ground level. Quarter time at the MCG. What a fluctuating quarter of football that was. The first 10 minutes all West Coast. The second 10 minutes all Melbourne. And then West Coast came storming home with 4 unanswered goals to finish the term with a 9-point lead. Phil Matera with 4 goals. Cox has 1. While for the D's, Aaron Davey with 2 goals. Singles to Robertson and Holland. Quarter time at the Melbourne Cricket Ground. Saturday afternoon football. West Coast 5-4-34. Melbourne 4-1-25. A little taste of what we can expect over the next 3 quarters. It's exciting footy, isn't it? We'll be back with plenty more second quarter action from the G coming up right after this.
Downtown on my street. You got the shakes from your head.
CB against White. White took it out of the ruck. The boot to ball quickly into the centre of the ground. Chance for the electrifying Davey. He could run onto this. Cutting across his glass. Davey burns him off. Goes for home and kicks a goal.
Magnificent play.
Beautiful football from Aaron Davey. Well, Melbourne kicked 4 goals in 8 minutes midway through that the first term. And then West Coast responded with 4 goals in 9 minutes at the end of the term to lead by 9 points at the first change. West Coast 5-4-34, Melbourne 4-1-25. An exciting quarter of football when the likes of Phil Matera and Aaron Davey can bob up with 6 goals between them in a quarter. And we are in for a cracking contest here. Saturday afternoon football at the MCG. As we take a look at the match stats, and Tony Shaw, West Coast with a lot more football, a lot more disposals, but a lot of those really made up of short kicks and handballs, and many of those were under pressure.
They were, and I think it was the about the 5 to 6 minute mark of the quarter where Melbourne gained some control, but then you go to the 24-minute mark of the quarter, and West Coast have had 20 possessions to 3 and kicked 4 goals in 8 minutes. We'll see this right through the whole game, and congratulations to both coaches who have said, we're not going to tag everywhere, no flooding, let's see who's got the best skill in a game where this could be something leading up to the finals. We might see this again in finals time, so congratulations to both these coaches.
It's shaping as a beauty, Glenn Manton.
Thanks, Jason. Spent a little bit of time watching John Worsfold addressing his forwards, no doubt talking about the importance of spacing and letting a man who's running hot, Phil Matera, have that space in order to create. Neil Danaher, on the other hand, spent a lot of time drawing his team in and implying that they needed to get harder around the football. It'll be interesting to see what matchup he's able to create for Matera into this second quarter. Could it be an Adam Uze? Could he push forward and push back, I should say, rather, and relieve some forward pressure and possibly take out a Matera?
Leading stat getters for both sides. Ben Holland with 9 possessions in the opening term. Bruce 6, Green 5, White, McLean and McDonald 4 for Melbourne. While Embley and Fletcher have had 10 each for West Coast. Matera, Kerr and Judd 7.
And Whelan starting on Matera again, so a lot of confidence from his coach.
Saturday afternoon football at the Melbourne Cricket Ground. Second term. West Coast by 9 points. Johnston gets it forward for the D's inside 50. Glass versus Holland to the back of the contest. Bruce paddles towards Davey. Off a step. Important hand in there from Jones. Getting back is Kerr. Wants to take Uze on and does. Handball to Wirpunda. Back now to Kerr. Under pressure from Davey. Got a kick to the 50, but it's marked by McLean. And the ball will come back in for Melbourne. D's looking to strike early. Short to Johnston. Well, you can see his intention. He was looking for Uze. Kick just poorly weighted and picked off by Kerr. To the wing. Hansen lost his feet. Rivers picks it off. Now to Green. He's a good user of the football. Penetrating kick inside 50. Glass did well. Punched towards the line. Uze tries to keep it alive, but in the process puts it out of bounds. Umpire says it pitched just inside the line, so we'll have a throw in 20 metres around from the Melbourne goal. They trail by 9 points. Opening minute of the second term. Here's Wayne Schwass on Saturday afternoon footy.
Holland against Cox. The ladder got the tap out. Davey. That's better checking by David Wirrapunta. That'll please Tony Shaw. Ball spills free. Kerr. So good evasive ability, Daniel Kerr. Can always get away from the tackle. And the Eagles go again. Braun will get on the end of a Cox handball. No, he leaves it for Hunter. Got an unkind bounce. Embley coming through. McLean. Fumbling ball. The Demons can go forward again. Maloney towards Miller in front. Strong grab in front of Glass. Terrific game last week. Green runs by. This for the first of the second term. But he pulls the ball left. Uze. Oh. Well, the crowd were willing. But there's the first score for the second term, courtesy of Brad Green.
I've got no doubt that end of the ground, because they've got the grandstand, there's a gap there, there's some wind there, because Brad Green would make that distance normally, and also he had a kick from the other side of the ground that held up in the first quarter, so it might be a wind factor up that end.
Yeah, from Aaron Edwards. Glenn Manton, the wind down at ground level.
Well, I can tell you, Jason, that it isn't significant, and I think what more of significance is the player's choice of boots, because the top of the ground is a little bit unstable.
Fletcher to the southern stand wing. Finds Hunter in some space.
Cousins.
Embley comes cruising past. He's got Cousins forward of the football. Does just go to ground, but back to Embley. Good hard running from Andrew Embley to the 50 on the left. Goes towards the square. Matera a couple to beat, almost to the back, and Edwards ricochets away for a minor score. Good fluid movement from the Eagles on that occasion.
From both sides, isn't it? It's great to watch. It is really good to watch that they've, as I said, the coach just said, go out and play today.
Weekly to Johnston. Up the middle. Very well executed kick. Green sold into trouble. Johnston had to just get rid of it quickly. Look at the numbers here for West Coast. Kerr and Judd arrive. The former takes possession. Down the line towards Edwards and finds him 70 metres from home. Matera leads to the pocket, a little half lead. Hansen calling for it long towards the top of the square. Seaby there as well. So they've got some tall timber, and Edwards will head in that direction. Seaby to the front, clears the back. Here's Matera lurking. Melbourne have got some numbers. Rivers runs over the top of it. Gathers now, dishes off to Brown. Goes short, Whelan. Lead up the middle was good presentation from Miller. Now Green cruising past. Long kick towards the forward 50. It's a wide open forward line. Uze versus Chick's been a good battle. Uze got a boot in there. That was very, very clever. Davey can run onto it. Ran over the top of it. Uncharacteristic from Davey. Stengline stands up in the tackle and will have a bounce.
Well,
25 out from the Melbourne goal.
Aaron Davey, just got to learn by that. You're very skilled, but to pick the ball up one-handed, he's very quick, very hard to do, and he fumbled that ball.
Umpire didn't waste any time. Jones might have been taken high. Judd just drops the shoulders. Hits the accelerator. Crowd wants ball. Wirrapunta spin it before he got it, but had some time. He's got support too. Cox. Here go the Eagles. Embley forward to the centre now. Had a bounce, can have a second. Green in pursuit. You need to be quick. Did he run too far? No. Lines up from outside 50. Won't make the distance. Whelan. Lunging Kerr. Couldn't grab the ball. And for the moment, the D's are standing up. McLean gets it over to Wheatley. They're not out of trouble yet. Finds Bizzle. He can go.
Free-flowing football at the moment. It's great to watch. Bizzle through the middle of the ground. Puts it to the advantage of Johnston to run onto. Coming the other way was Robertson. Johnston got a couple to beat now. Paddles it forward, keeps it moving, but Jones gets back for West Coast and numbers will win out. Their turn to load up off half-back. Wirrapunta to Cox. Down the line, Fletcher. Got a couple of metres on Johnston. Fumbled at Johnston, closing on him now. They hit it shoulder to shoulder. Travis Johnston gets in and makes a contest. Wins the football. Tries to get rid of it under the Staker tackle. Play on call. Rivers towards the line. Brings it back to Bizzle. He steps inside the Staker tackle. Things open up now for Melbourne. Maloney tumbles it down the line towards Holland. Holland and Glass, one-on-one. Holland over the top of it, could be in trouble. Umpire will bounce.
Very good decision by the umpire. I'm trying to look at, I think it was Glass. He held the ball underneath Holland, could not get the ball out. If he didn't have his hand there, I think Holland would have been pinned for holding the ball. Let's have a look. You can see there, Glass has got the hand on the ball, and the umpire, good decision.
Meanwhile, back at the ranch, free kick in the ruck contest around the scrimmage, and it's going to Chris Judd. Had the arm held. Eagles by 9 points, 6 minutes gone, second term. Saturday afternoon football right around the country from the MCG.
Coming up for possession, number 9, Chris Judd. Goes long towards Hanson, marked closely by Rivers, got a fist on it, towards Bizzle. Travis Johnson. Well, he's having a good afternoon again, Travis Johnston. Goes towards Holland. Couldn't take the mark, ball spills free. Heffernan on the burst. Handball, Embley out of mid-air. High ball for Brown. Plays on the little man for the Demons, goes short and finds Heffernan. Well, this will take his best, you'd think, Tony.
It would.
So he decides to try and spot a target. Uze. He's got his work to do here. Handball towards Green, but he was surrounded by Eagles players. Maloney over the top of Kurt. Uze goes again. Spills free. White, Chick with a good smother. Embley, well, good pressure from both sides. Coming through, putting his body on the line was Maloney. Didn't win a free kick. The Eagles will rebound now. Cousins has 3 bounces.
He can go all the way.
Gets towards 50, closes, measures the kick, but it'll fade. It fades late for a behind.
Well, the Bulls have locked horns, haven't they? They just cannot break through at the moment on the scoreboard. A lot of the plays being played between the 250-metre arcs.
Whelan.
Fantastic contest.
So much pressure. Ball handling very difficult, even though the conditions are pretty good. Just the pressure around at the moment. It's tough to one grab it. Staker did on that occasion from 60. Loads it up high and long to the square. Edwards will fly from the back off the hands of the pack. Nicholson. Discretion the better part of Vella there as we head down to Glen Manton.
Jason, Ben Cousins would be bitterly disappointed with that miss, particularly given the fact that pre-game he exactly replicated that shot at goal and kicked it.
Umpire calls for Jared Rivers just to get out of the hot zone.
And he is limping, Jared Rivers. Going away from that contest. There he is there.
So the ball comes back to Whelan to start again. 11 points, West Coast lead. Short to Brad Green. Been prominent, 10th touch for him coming up. Now to Whelan from defensive 50. Good hard long lead from Miller. Hunter stayed by his shoulder and forced a contest. Staker harassed by Miller. Chance for McLean, he's got 3 to beat. Nikoski dispossesses him.
Free kick.
Umpire said illegally, slung in the tackle. And Brock McLean will get the free kick right on centre wing. Pushing forward to the football was Brown. Wants to step inside, Kerr does so. Opens up now for Brown. Runs to 35, Nathan Brown. Disappointing kick in the end. Off hands, minus score. So a couple of opportunities for each team going begging early in this second term, and it's tightened up.
I think it's the pressure. I think they don't believe they've got enough time. They have got time, but they feel like they're under pressure.
Cox with some time. Goes out wide to Cousins. It's the comeback inboard. Gets it back to Big Ruckman. Good running. Drills the pass inside 50 to Matera.
Oh, Dean Cox, that is magnificent play.
Well, not only does he find himself into some space, but we're really treated to Ruckman, Tony, that have great disposing skills.
Oh, and the stamina to keep running the line, because he gave that ball first in the first contest and ran on again, received the handball. And you're right, Wayne, the finish off, a big man to finish off like he did was just magnificent.
And can his little forward finish off the hard work? Yes, he can. He's got 5.
Well, not a lot that Matthew Whelan could do on that occasion. Still the matchup for Phil Matera. Well, let's have a look here. Cousins, handball over the top. And Dean Cox, I think he's got a fair motor, Dean Cox. And just to have the poise and the ability to give the kick enough to keep it out in front of Phil Matera, that is a very talented player.
Phil Matera, 5 goals, to the 10-minute mark of the second term. West Coast lead out to an equal game high of 16 points. Melbourne led by 16 halfway through the first term. Since then, West Coast have turned it around in no uncertain terms. White got the tap. Johnston scrapping at ground level. McLean trying to get the hands free. Held up by Dean Cox, and will have a secondary bounce.
Well, that's another indication, is it? Dean Cox sitting on the ground, still holding a tackle, so he's just thinking about the football, the way it should be played, all facets of it.
Embley, third man up, was effective, got it forward. Green got a hand in there. Here's a chance for Cousins to redeem himself from 45. Delivers this time and kicks a goal. Touched, is it right on the line? Did it come off the top of the... Was it actually touched by a hand or off a player's head there?
I'm not sure.
We'll take another look. It looked to be right to the line. Ben Cousins disappointed with that. So, opportunity again, missing out for West Coast. Yeah, it came off Aaron Edwards' head.
And he was behind the line, I thought.
Well, there you go. Interesting.
It's called a falcon.
March and 17 points.
Green away.
I thought that's what Cousins said. I was reading his lips.
Long ball, high ball. Davies in front. Pawurapunda off a standing jump. Terrific vertical leap and took a good mark. He can go out wide and switch play if he wants. That's exactly what he does. He's got Nikoski, who's normally a good kick himself. Called to play on. Terrific pressure. Now Nikoski on his wrong side of his body. Hansen overran the ball. Johnston under pressure. Got away from the Braun tackle. Melbourne with some numbers here. Brown, can he get rid of the ball? Did he drop it? No. Heffernan mops up to Bizzle. To Maloney. Can give it to McLean. Either by hand or foot. The ball sits. Brock McLean can have a bounce. Steers the kick towards Robertson on the stretch. He's up to the task as Chris Heffernan makes his way towards the boundary line, being replaced by James McDonald.
Talked about the ebbs and flows. Well, Melbourne now need to get control in the next 5 minutes. They need to get some control so they can get back into this game. And this might be the man, but then, they kept the ball alive off halfback. A great tackle by Cousins, and they just didn't turn it over, which was good play by Melbourne.
Tight angle, already has one. Starts it out left, fades it back and fades it back beautifully. Ramo likes it. He's got two.
Well, will this be a start of a 5 to 6 minute period for Melbourne where they have their time in the sun? And Brock McLean, been a very good play. He's a great pickup. He's a tough and hard unit. Doesn't always use the ball that well. And matter of fact, last week had a shocker, but you're going to have that when you're a young player. Put the ball out, and athleticism shown there by Russell Robinson. No one could stop that on the lead, and that's a good conversion from the opposite side, not his non-preferred.
2 goals to Robertson, 2 to Davey and 1 to Holland, give Melbourne 5. While Phil Matera's booted 5 and Cox has 1 for West Coast. Speaking of Dean Cox, high ball towards the southern wing. Nikoski punched it forward. Staker couldn't gather. Nikoski now over the top of it, under pressure from Brown. Gone. So Melbourne looking for their turn, their run of momentum as Johnston goes down the line to Miller. Working hard is Brad Miller. Covers a lot of territory across centre-half forward. Great grab from Uze. Looked to be out of position. Wheels onto the left from 60. Attacks the goal square. Robertson in position again. Wirapunda runs it through for a minor score. But Melbourne with the run of play at the moment.
Russell Robinson just saying to the umpire there, keep your eyes open because I think he's holding my jumper.
10 points the margin as Stenglein goes to Kerr. Banfield provides the run. Edwards caught just underneath it, punched away by Whelan. Staker wrapped up by Brown. Ball spills free in the tackle, picked up by Bruce. Bruce, good vision. Didn't execute the kick though, but going back with the flight is Sylvia at 55. Can play on, will get run down. Tackle came from Hunter. Chance for Miller. He's run down by Wirapunda. Paddle to the advantage of Davey. Sweeping in with Stenglein, and the Eagles are away now through Fletcher.
Has Edwards short. Couldn't pick it up on the half volley. Whelan somehow got it to Maloney. The D's go forward again towards Green. He's got himself some space. Good spoil there on Jones. McDonald, Chick with the tackle. There's a whistle on play. Advantage. Free kick to the Eagles. They can go again. Well, from one end of the ground to the other, we're being treated here this afternoon at the MCG. Cox, what can he do? Down the throat of Seavey on the stretch. Couldn't take the mark. Lunging was Rivers. Handball only as far as Braun. Has got Matera. He's got 5. Can go over the top to Emily. Has some time. Steadies. And hits the post.
It's the pressure.
What a magnificent game. What a magnificent game. Coming from one end of the ground, the other, advantages played. And just to show Dean Cox the way that he's thinking, look at this, he couldn't get to the ruck work, so he just stayed down and rode to Jeff White.
A thinking big man. That's something you don't often see.
Oh, I won't go there.
Johnston short to Bizzle. The margin 11 points. The pressure enormous. Forcing mistakes from both sides. Dare we say it's September-like pressure. Johnston around the southern side. It's a 2-on-1 and over the top. Big strong grab from Adam Hunter. Dean Cox running hot at the moment. Nikoski waiting for an option. Inside 50, going back with a flight is Lynch. Weakley stood tall, worked to the front of Matera and took the mark. Now wants to switch. Rivers, look out, here comes Braun approaching. Forces a contest, Michael Braun. The cavalry arrive for both sides. Matera lurking with intent.
Well done.
Ball dribbles out. And again, we say the pressure.
I don't want to get in that argument about a good small man and a good tall man. You know that, Wayne. But I didn't like the ruckman telling me where to go.
Tony, I don't think you liked anyone telling you where to go, to be quite honest.
Seabee illegally around the neck of Jeff White. Melbourne fans feeling they're getting a bad deal on the umpiring at the moment. Free kicks 7 apiece. Brown up the middle. Green, Johnston. They attack straight down the middle. Getting across. Chick dropped the mark though once he was there. Davies' eyes lit up where a punter gathers. Ran into Robertson going nowhere. Ball in the middle of them. And a bounce 48 metres out from the Melbourne goal. 11 points the margin. We've played 17 minutes in the second term. This is Saturday afternoon football from the MCG.
1 goal apiece to both sides in this second term. Seabee, Stengline, Davey with the tackle. Fletcher to Chick. Stengline, they work it out of the contest. Can have a bounce now. Gets around Maloney. Lynch wants it long. He's there with Nicholson. Oh, too much strength. Drop the mark, Lynch. Has time to butter up. Can line up and go. Bang!
Wow, that is magnificent. Body on body quick Lynch just pushed Alistair Nicholson aside and kept his feet. Nicholson goes to ground. And matter of fact, I thought Alistair Nicholson had the better body position, but then the finish off after you had to contest the ball, it was just great play. We'll see it here again. Tyson Stengline, long, have a look at this for body strength. He's behind, gets side on, and I think Alistair was just off balance and he timed his push away, but then you had to convert on goal, and you could see Dean Cox loved it in the goal square.
One kick, 1 goal for Quinton Lynch. The big unit gives West Coast a 17-point lead. Approaching time on second term. Seabee against Johnson. McDonald wrapped up by Seabee. Ball spills to Selwood. Embley got a quick kick forward towards the 50. Bizzle wrapped up by Staker. Umpire calls play on. Ball still alive. Crashing through Travis Johnston. Wins himself a free kick.
Well, I think Darren Goldsmith is butted up there and giving Travis Johnston the free kick because he went to put the whistle to the mouth with Clint Bizzle but didn't pay it.
Nathan Brown. Corralled by Nikoski, so we'll go short and wide. Maintain possession through McDonald. He'll kick it long inside 50. Robertson comes storming out. Ball pitches just in front of he and Jones. We'll have a throw in 25 metres out from the Melbourne goal as we hit time on in this second term.
I'll tell you the other part of the game, which is quite interesting, is when the good Cox goes off the ball and White goes off the ball. You've got Johnson versus Seabee. Who can dominate that period of time might be very important for your own team.
2 of the best time-on teams in the competition this season, these two. They do finish quarters well. As the players around this one again. And a bounce just inside 50 for the D's.
Dean Cox has gone to full forward for the West Coast Eagles. Jared Rivers has got that job.
Can Melbourne manufacture one here? Seabee and Johnson. Ineffective tap. Seabee tries to farm it out to Selwood. Went to the voice of where a punter missed the body. Fletcher spins through the Davey tackle, hands off to Nikoski. Down the line. Bizzle arrived late, but Staker paid the mark, centre wing.
Great reach, hasn't he, Brent Staker? Thought that was going over his head, just a standing jump.
2 goals last week, Brett Staker. Just measures the kick. Edwards. Oh, good strong grab from a young man in game number 3. He's got a presence about him. Got Lynch, Embley and Matera. Matera breaks. Much better match up there, Tony, I think, with Paul Wheatley on him. Edwards decides to go long. Sits a high ball up. Lynch in front. Nicholson with the spoil. The danger man, Matera. Oh. Heffernan got himself in between Matera and the goal line. But the little man there is causing plenty of problems for the Demons defenders.
Oh, is he what? And that was at ground level. And I agree, you had to change the matchup because once he kicked his kick 5 to this stage of the game, but Wheatley at ground level, that might be the issue.
There's a good history of opposition sides playing taller opponents on Matera and doing pretty well. Even the likes of Dustin Fletcher have manned him up in the past. Wheatley going okay at the moment. Big hit from Miller on Cox. Miller then put some body in as well, got into his back.
Got to be in the back. Now, Brad Miller did the right thing, and he's not happy about it, but that was a great bump, but it was the follow-up after Cox went down. Now, this is where it should end.
Look at the eyes.
Look at the eyes, it wanted it. I love the way that Brad Miller plays. Don't get me wrong, but you've got to be in control because they run the pressure and they could have turned the ball over there, West Coast.
Edwards again flies and marks 55 out. Won't go the journey from here. Goes towards Lynch versus Nicholson. Lynch has got him done. Just judged the flight of the ball a little bit better. There was a stutter in the lead. Nicholson just thrown off balance. Lynch got a pace on him and took the mark. Let's take another look at this grab from Aaron Edwards. Here's a good one-grab mark.
Gee. He's come out of nowhere, hasn't he, Aaron, over the last month or so? But a big kick in this game because, as I said, that turnover at half-back with that free kick, maybe not warranted.
Lynch for goal number 2. Opportunity goes begging.
Oh, that's right across the face.
18 points the margin. 2 minutes remaining. Important for the D's to hold here. It has been a tight game, enormous pressure, but you look up at the scoreboard and West Coast, another goal or two and they'd be well and truly in control.
Johnson to Bizzle.
The other issue, it's been a very physical first half. That 4-day break held that impact, a 5-day break held that impact on the result.
Wheatley on the stretch. No pressure, so he decides to have a bounce. Measures the kick down the wing. Miller got his hands to the ball. Heffernan there with Embley. As is Davey and Braun. No, it's Nikoski. He wins himself the free kick. Davey infringed in the back.
Just first to the ball at the moment, the Eagles. Getting their bodies in first and being rewarded with the free kicks.
Embley squares the ball to Selwood. He can go to Kerr now. He's got Stengline it is. Finally goes there. Hunter breaks. That's ignored. So he goes short to Kerr, getting back. Robinson.
Well done.
Did well. They're the little things that the coach would be looking for, Tony. When things aren't going well, it's the small things, the team-orientated things that he'll focus on at half-time, I'm sure.
Especially from players who aren't renowned for their defensive skills, but well done to Russell Robinson.
Cox works his way to the front. He's had an impressive first half, but Johnson, well, he got his hands to the ball. Maloney must have heard the call. Goes to Bruce. This is important entry inside 50 now for the Demons. Davey had to wait. Jones got a hand in there. He's got support. One is which is Selwood. Can come back inside the corridor now. Has got Braun. What sort of bounce does he get? He had to stop and prop. Goes back to Chick. Bangs a high ball up now. Edwards will fly. Gets himself in front, but Rivers up to the task on the second bite. Took a good mark.
Important grab. Minute remaining for Melbourne. Can they manufacture one off half-back? Wheatley. Green. Looks up. Not a lot on. Goes over the top to Heffernan. Tries to break a line and does. Kicks down the wing to Miller again, working hard. Bizzle's over the top if he spots him. Braun's going to work hard to get back there, but won't in time, and Bizzle has it 55 out. Plays on quickly. Goes to the pocket. 2-on-2 at ground level. A chance for Holland. Holland can gather. Dishes it off. Tight angle. McDonald goes with a dribbling kick and misses to the near side. That would have been so handy for Melbourne right on half-time. As it stands, the margin now 17 points. Missed opportunity right on half-time by James McDonald. Eagles just need to be tidy here. Jones to Glass. He's happy to hold it up with 10 seconds remaining. Called to play on now. We'll kick it long to the wing. Braun's worked off his man Maloney. Kick goes over his head, bouncing down towards he and Staker. Will matter not. Half-time at the MCG. And West Coast with a pretty handy lead. They led by 9 points at the first change, and in that term it was hard yards. They kicked 2 goals 6. Melbourne booted 1 goal 4. At the major break, West Coast 7-10 52. Melbourne 5-5 35. Phil Matera with 5 goals for the Eagles. Singles to Cox and Lynch. While for the D's, 2 goals to Robertson, 2 to Davey and 1 to Ben Holland.
Oh, great game of football, isn't it? And really, it's the individual brilliance of Phil Matera with 5 goals. It's the difference between the two sides. They got in first, they ran harder in that quarter, West Coast Eagles, but this game isn't over because you know Melbourne will have their time.
Just 17 points the margin at the major break. Saturday afternoon football from the MCG. West Coast by 17 points.
Welcome back to the MCG, where the West Coast Eagles are looking to exercise all demons Melbourne. And it's now my pleasure to throw my exercise clause back to the central commentary position with Jason Bennett.
Thank you, Matt. 17 points the margin at half-time. Melbourne in a huddle. Need to make a move early in this term. As we mentioned in that second quarter, a goal or two to West Coast early, and suddenly the margin blows out a little bit. It's manageable at the moment. But we know West Coast a good finishing team. We also know Melbourne have been excellent in the third quarter recently. It'll be interesting to see from here on in the effects of that much-discussed 5-day break. Travis Johnston going to start on the bench.
Is that a surprise, Tony?
He's got that right knee heavily strapped.
Well,
so.
yes, he might have an injury. Because I thought just at the end of the second quarter, he went missing. He's had a great first half. And that might be the reason he has got that knee strapped. If he was fit, I think he'd be out in the ground.
Let's head down to Glenn.
Actually limped off, Jason, with just 5 minutes to go in that second quarter, where he got some extensive treatment for that knee injury from the Melbourne physios. I'm not sure if he's able to get back or not, but as you guys have mentioned, it seems strange that he'd start this third quarter on the bench if he was 100%.
Maybe just indicating a bit of tightness there to the physio, but looks to be in reasonably good spirits, which would suggest that it's nothing too serious. Certainly Melbourne fans hoping that he can inject himself back into the game. Clearances in that second term, 8-3 in favour of West Coast, did just help them take control. And the big man, Dean Cox, has had a huge influence on the game so far.
And it looks like Neil Danaher has shown his hand. Paul Wheatley goes to Phil Matera, and Matthew Whelan is playing as a small forward for the D's.
Third term, Saturday afternoon football from the MCG. Thanks for having us at your place. 17 points the margin. West Coast in control. But goals have come in a hurry for both sides. Bruce fists it forward for McLean to run onto. Melbourne will get the first opportunity in the third term. Stenglein leads Whelan to the football and takes it to the line. Throw in. So Whelan starting in the forward half for Melbourne. Robertson starting out of the goal square. They lined up straight down the corridor from full forward to centre half forward for that centre bounce. Give the forwards an opportunity to lead to both sides depending on which way the football comes out. White got the tap. Fletcher. Slick hands to Wirpunda. To the wing. Sylvia goes back. Takes an athletic mark. Very, very talented young prospect, Colin Sylvia. Inside 50. Holland uses the big body. Stenglein gets across. Here's Davey lurking at the back. Couldn't quite get the run. Got boot to ball. And from the angle we're sitting on, we have a perfect shot of that. You can't quite see it at home how close that was. That's missed by half a metre from an impossible angle.
Oh, magnificent skills under pressure.
Fletcher receives it from Wirpunda. Straight up the middle, he's got Kerr. Daniel Kerr with 14 first half possessions. Well, Adamuse just had to turn around because the kick was intended for Stenglein. The ball goes out of bounds. Out of jail there just for the moment. Daniel Kerr and the West Coast Eagles.
Just a lull round the ground. We know it's majority Melbourne supporters. There's a lull there. I think they know if they get a couple of goals or West Coast get a couple of goals, this game could be well and truly over.
White and Cox, they go at it again. Ball comes out towards Braun. Handballed straight to Bruce. They need something special from Cameron Bruce. Whelan will fly in front. Takes a mark. Robertson leads. That's where he goes. Got in front. Terrific kick. Great lead. And a chance for Robinson to kick his third and the first for this second half for the Melbourne side.
I say well done to Matthew Whelan. You've had a horror first half. You've been asked to do another role as a small forward. Marks the ball, and it was a hard mark. There was a lot of bodies around. And then to set up Russell Robinson. At least he hasn't dropped his head, which we know Matthew Whelan wouldn't do anyway.
To equal his return from last week. This for number 3. Important goal. He's got it.
Well, 3 goals in 3 quarters, and he's done it, taking them all by taking marks, or kicked them all from taking mark. Cameron Bruce, you're right, Wayne, they need him to lift in that area. And there's Whelan, a lot of bodies around there, kept his eye on the ball, and just, well, lobbed the ball over the mark, over the head of Tyson Stenglein on the mark, and Russell Robinson kept the space open for himself. Good start to the D's. There's a bit more noise now from the Melbourne crowd.
A line of players straight up the ground from goal line to goal line. And that could be one of the most important goals of the game. Brings the margin back to within 10 points. Melbourne squarely back in the contest. Not that they were ever really out of it, but danger signs were there. Jump run down by Heffen, and umpire calls play on. Bruce wins the football. Melbourne starting well here. Green. Whelan again versus Stenglein. Could be a masterstroke from Neil Danaher. Whelan grabs the footy. Stenglein grabs him, holding the ball. Umpire calls advantage. Kerr trots around the southern wing. Will kick long towards the 50. One-on-one contest. Ferguson a well-timed fist. Spills to Bizzle. Shrugs one tackle. Confronted by a couple more. Went to the voice of Bruce. Now White. Melbourne starting to run. Just spending time in possession. Ferguson. McLean can go over the top to Miller if he can get clear. Hunter did well to hold him up. Did really well to hold him up. McLean inside 50. Robertson looks the forward most likely for Melbourne. And here's the other one, Davey versus Wirapunda. This will be something to watch. Davey. Sockers to the line, throw in. It looks like the Robertson and Davey show up forward for Melbourne, really, in terms of the guys who are likely to kick multiple goals in the second half and get him into the game.
Yes, you're right there. And Adam Hunter, well done, you called it. He manned the mark well and just held him up long enough.
White and a fresh air shot over the back. Fletcher, Bruce, Kerr. Now to Wirapunda. Did it well, the West Coast Eagles. They're under some pressure there. David Wirapunda can go for a couple of bounces. Can sum up his options. Goes towards Lynch at half forward. Couldn't take the mark. Went to ground. Bizzle tidies it up. Horror bounce for Rivers. Banfield swoops. Swings it inboard. Cousins can measure. The skipper from 40. Misses again. Hasn't had a good day in front of the big sticks. 3 behinds to Ben Cousins. And Melbourne let off the hook again. The margin now 11 points. 5 minutes gone, third term. I think he said Falcon again.
McLean, terrific kick from Wheatley. Here go Melbourne. Sylvia. Forward of the wing now. It's an ugly looking kick. Whelan in front. Wirapunda there to spoil, but Whelan can go again. He's got support. Sylvia, take 2. Measures the kick. Heads towards the pocket and finds Robertson.
Could make the Cousins miss even more important. 2-goal swing.
How important is it to have a bloke who kicks the ball 60 metres from full-back? Paul Wheatley kicked the ball to the wing to Cameron Bruce, but gee, they're really leaving some fantastic, working well to keep some space in front of Russell Robinson.
For number 4, and Melbourne's second of this third term, Robertson. It's an ugly looking kick. Pushes it right, and that sums it all up, Tony.
It did, didn't it, Russell? He knew, just didn't drop the ball well. Geez, they've started well this quarter, though, so it's what Neil Danaher would have wanted.
Neil just hands the phone over to Peter Curran, says this one's for you. Wirapunda with the kick in. That's what he's confronted with. A heavy zone from Melbourne. We'll use the get-out clause, which is short to the back pocket. Finds Glass. Again, Melbourne one-on-one all over the ground. Glass looking for a free man. Won't find one. Will have to kick to a contest. So, plays the percentage and heads towards the line. White beats Cox. Kerr couldn't get a hand on it. Sylvia back inside 50. 2-on-1 and Jones in position, takes the mark. Wants to move it quickly and gets away with it despite the best efforts of Davey. The 1-2 with Embley. Jones kicked too much on it for Hanson. Rivers can get Melbourne going forward. Handballed into open space. Cruising across was White. Back to Rivers. Tight confines down the line. And finds Whelan, who's presenting across half forward. Now to Holland, 60 metres from goal. McLean streaming back inside 50. Will square it up and find Green still inside the square. Bruce leads short. Miller's right in front of him. That's where he'll go. Umpire's going to pull it back. Umpire's going to pull it back and make him kick again. I can only assume because the Melbourne player ran too close to the kicker and the umpire called time off. So Green will have to do it all again. Went to Bruce. Davey at the back. What a set play! 4 points the difference. Well, Cameron Bruce was like the bloke in the wall for soccer who goes to ground and takes a couple out with him. Davey at the back swings in and grabs his third. And we spoke about the importance of the first 10 minutes, Tony. Melbourne get a couple of goals. They're in the game. If West Coast had got them, it would have been hard work for the Ds, but 4 points the margin, 7.5 minutes in.
As I said, a great start, and Cameron Bruce would have got a free kick even if Aaron Davey didn't kick that goal. Everybody seemed to stop, didn't they? That's what happens when the pressure's around. You're just looking for things to happen.
Good to see him back on, Travis Johnson, with that right knee strapped. They kicked 1 goal in that second term, Melbourne. They've got 2 inside the first 8 minutes of this third term. 4 points the margin in favour of West Coast. And they go forward again. Heffernan, Sylvia thumps it forward towards centre half forward, coming through. Glass put his body on line. The Eagles through Embley, goes to Cousins now. Slips, has some time. Has time for a bounce. Can have a second if he wants now. Goes to the outer side of the ground. It's a well-weighted kick. Fletcher had got himself into some space. Chad Fletcher will go back. Kick from outside 50. You'd think that this will take his best.
It will test him. I think Melbourne have lifted in a number of areas, and mainly players like Heffernan, Whelan and Sylvia just had little influences on general play.
This to extend the margin out. Won't make the distance. They'll contest off the hands of the pack for a rush behind. The margin 5 points, 4 points I should say.
I think Neil Dano would be happy with that because you just see here the follow-up. Well, Brock McLean just was in the wrong spot at the wrong time there. Big bodies coming through the pack.
Green to the southern side. Ferguson stretch, couldn't quite bring it down, but at ground level he wins the football. Well played. Kept his head and didn't panic. Handball into the path of Johnston. Got an awkward bounce, but he too has some time to work. Swings it inboard. Ferguson followed up. Good play from the youngster. Bombs it long. Bruce and Robertson a chance for the Ds. Great mark in front, Jones. He's an old-fashioned West Coast defender. Good straight-ahead player, Brett Jones, just 22 years of age, strong in the body. And an exciting defensive prospect for the next 10 years for West Coast. Banfield to Fletcher. Wapunder again just sneaking away to create off half-back. Goes very wide, finds Kerr. Kerr can go down the line, working hard to get off his man was Hunter. Gathers just inside the line. Rivers tries to take him to the boundary. Hunter tries to get some space, tickles it, keeps it alive momentarily. They'll have a throw in just outside 50 for the Eagles. 10 minutes gone, third term, 5 points the margin. Saturday afternoon football at the MCG, one of the matches of the season, first versus second. And it is just building delightfully towards a great climax in the final term. Cox at the front, got the tap. Cousins met solidly by White and Miller. They pile in on top and the umpire will bounce.
There hasn't been individual brilliance, has it, that got Melbourne back into the game? As I said, some workmanlike tasks from some of their lesser knowns, as in Heffernan and Sylvia and Whelan, as we said, going forward. So, you know, they've got to get some of their senior players or some of the better players are going to lift at certain periods of this game. Yeah,
it's been a good balanced spread early in this third term. Miller was clever into the path of Heffernan. Judd sweating on him. Judd keeps his feet. Heffernan gets the football. White slipped through his hands. Selwood under pressure. He did well to get it to Wembley. Quick kick inside 50. Melbourne in best position again through Ferguson. He dropped the football. Edwards. Ferguson ferocious. Great front on tackle. This could be inspirational for the Ds as Sylvia grabs the footy. They've got loose men everywhere here, Melbourne. Davey can go over the top. Gets it back himself. Still got men forward of the football. McDonald links up with Johnston. Robertson leads short, has to double back. Looks further afield. West Coast get across. Glass saves the day for the Eagles.
Saves the day, but disappointing end to a terrific build-up there from Travis Johnston. Intended target was Maloney, but as you said, Jason, Glass read it best. Chick to Cousins. Fletcher short.
They're better at manning up man on man at the moment, aren't they, Wayne? We saw in the first half so many times from half back they had uncontested football.
Long towards the wing in front of the interchange benches. Miller slapped it forward. Stenglein will get there first. Got a good shepherd from Cox. Goes over the top to Fletcher. Slips. Arriving late was White. The Eagles ruckman just bangs it on the boots. A high ball. They'll contest. Miller flew, but reading it well there was Rivers. Gets it on to Sylvia now. Spears the kick towards Davies. He got a couple of yards. He wants to move it on quickly. He's got Johnson further afield. He can wait. Bouncing ball. Much to Tony Shaw's angst. Goes towards the pocket. No, ignores that. Wants to measure the kick. Centres the ball, but picks out Braun. Lovely pick up on the half volley. And the Eagles will rebound. They've got 3 numbers here. Seaby can go to Fletcher, who can go in turn to Embley.
He'll be tearing his hair out, Neil Danaher. The kick from Davey was poor, and Johnston couldn't get there either. Embley arches the back, slips away from Paul Johnson. Goes inside 50. Again, Melbourne with numbers. Matera at the back. Snaps. And goals. 6 of the best for Fabulous Phil. That really stings. Melbourne going forward. Davey had the football. He had Johnston in space. Look at Neil Danaher. 2-goal swing. Melbourne's good work undone. Margin back out to 11 points.
Well, Neil Danaher seeing his side work so hard in this early part of this third quarter, and you're right, Davey hits the target with Johnson. He'd run through 50 because there was no one within 30 metres of him. They rebound the ball the whole length of the ground, and that man, Matera, again, it's just a lone... He's just the forward line, a lone forward line for West Coast Eagles at the moment.
Small in stature, but big in output this afternoon, Phil Matera. 6 goals. Johnson and Seaby. Judd wearing him closely. Heffernan. Travis Johnston. Can he make amends? Decides to have a bounce. And a second one. He's got Miller who breaks. It's a good kick. Couple of yards from Hunter. Goes towards Robertson on the stretch. Ran under the ball. There for the Eagles is Will Punda. Can go to Embley. Fires a handball off to Kerr. Hansen. He's got himself with plenty of room now. Can go. The Eagles centre half forward. Now goes towards the pocket. Matera. Too much on the kick. Getting back there, Staker. Lynch. Handballs to himself. Has some time. Quinton Lynch around the corner. No. Ferguson did well. Got a spoil on the ball. And through for a behind.
David Weir under 5 possessions in this quarter, just slipping away from Davey. If he can get that football and be creative off half-back, the Eagles look very dangerous.
Well, they can, but Davey also kicked the goal. So is the 6 points worth the possessions that you get? That's the question you've got to ask. But he does set up so well, you're right, Jason.
It's a great one-on-one matchup. Green has it at defensive 50, receiving from Ferguson. Man in space has been everywhere this term, Colin Sylvia. Kicks towards 50. Here's where Punda attacks the ball. Bruce got it off the hands. Here's his man, Davies. Over the top. Aaron Davey to Whelan. Chick. Good hard running from West Coast. They were ferocious then. Kerr mopping up across half-back. Selwood's in some space. Looks up. Sees Lynch working hard. Ignores that lead. Holds it up. Wants to go inboard. Turns it over. On the rebound, Melbourne a chance. Rivers, Davey, handball over the top. Sets Maloney up for Chick to run him down. And another turnover. Embley runs through the middle. No one coming at him. Heffernan almost runs him down. Goes to Matera. Kick to the advantage of Wheatley. He went to ground. It's still there for West Coast. Staker.
Matera's down.
Gives it up. And Brown can clear for the D's. Out to Sylvia. Keep an eye on Matera and come back to him shortly. Whelan couldn't take the mark. Banfield stood tall. Russian roulette footy at the moment. Stenglein only as far as Brown, and now a chance for the D's to break off half-back.
He backs himself. He can have a bounce. Wants to come through the centre corridor. Heads out wide now. He's got Rivers in some space, Jared Rivers. Robertson breaks. That's where he'll go. Wearing him closely was Jones. Nudged him underneath the ball.
And it looks like Matera's coming from the ground. No, he's in the hands of the trainers, though they're heading for the bench. Oh, he just got hit from behind there. But he's back running towards the goal square.
Just a gentle
need a goal here.
knee.
They've worked hard, Melbourne. They need a goal here.
Well, it probably shouldn't have went. It's good to see him up. Throw in. Melbourne forward line. Johnson to Maloney. Got away from Chick. Wants to get onto that right boot. Centres the ball. Kerr with courage. That's a wonderful mark, Daniel Kerr. And backs himself and goes now. He's got a couple of eagles. Embley's one. Outer side of the ground. Wants to move it on quickly now. Short kick to the pocket. Lynch on the half volley in front of Nicholson. Gives it back to Embley. Good running. This will finish it off for a lovely goal. Across the face of goal. No. Embley signals. He's got it.
Well, we have seen so many great individual efforts with Matera kicking his 6 goals for the game. Russell Robertson trying to do his bit down the other end. Davey. But that was as good as it get because Embley received the ball on the wing, but he ran from the other side of the ground. He linked up, kicks the ball forward, maybe a little bit wide, didn't make it to his teammate Quinton Lynch, goes back in the corridor, and the Melbourne player, I think it was Rivers, had to make contact to stop Embley getting back there.
He is a class act, Andrew Embley. Embley, Fletcher and Kerr damaging this quarter for West Coast. They've had 22 possessions between them. Embley's had 8. Fletcher and Kerr have had 7 each. Phil Matera's up and about. Corked buttock, courtesy of Alistair Nicholson. Seaby got the tap. Running onto it was Johnston. Important time again for Melbourne. All their good work's been undone. The margin back out to 18 points. Miller. Hunter took it to the line. So again, we're seeing this game go in fits and starts. Melbourne had the better of the early stages. West Coast have steadied like good sides do. And as we approach time on in the third, Melbourne with the work to do again. Squirts out to McDonald. Inside 50, Robertson being harassed. That's got to be there.
Yeah.
Russell Robertson booted 3. Missed one he might have kicked in this third term as well.
Brett Jones, he started from behind Russell Robinson in the goal square with that ball. They're giving him a lot of space to work in, and Russell Robinson just held his line. Jones thought that he had to push him under the line, and he was holding one arm, but you can't have your arm over the shoulder.
Robertson for his 4th. Gets it for the D's, keeps them in touch. Margin back to 12 points. 4 goals to Russell Robertson. And as we hit time on in the third term, Ben Cousins has a spell. And the Demons hang in.
Tony, you just can't underestimate the importance of a quick kick into that forward line, because that's caught Brett Jones out, essentially. He's tried to manhandle Russell Robinson simply because he's been caught out of position.
Well, he thought the ball was going to drop forward, and he got his fist in, but the only way he did was by pushing Robinson under the ball, and he did that only by having a hand over the shoulder.
That man there on screen, 4 goals, 1. Certainly doing his bit for his Melbourne side this afternoon. Can the D's get another one as we head towards 3/4 time? Kerr butters up. Daniel Kerr inside 50 again. Ferguson, but Seaby was too good on this occasion with a good mark.
I think we're seeing 2 sides who are a long, long way ahead of a lot of teams in this competition. Daniel Kerr, the second effort, missed the ball on the first kick out of the centre bounce, then did a blind turn and had the ability and skill to hit Seaby, and that was a fair mark also, under enormous pressure.
21-year-old. He's played 23 matches prior to today. He's kicked 4 goals for the year. Will it be 5? Yes.
I know we've spoken during the week about the 2 coaches going head-to-head in a shootout, Shorey, but the way things are at the moment, they're 3 goals down, the D's. Embley, Fletcher and Kerr just cutting them up.
Well, there it is, Kerr. Yeah, you're right. They're getting, if you're going to play free-running football, you know that those types of players are going to get a lot of the ball. They are going to hurt you sometime in the game. And Kerr, that individual effort was just fantastic. Seaby's a very interesting player, second-string ruckman and a dangerous forward.
The D's need to get something out of Adamuze. He's been the spark. He's been the ignition for them in recent weeks. He's had just 6 possessions today and kicked 1 behind. Got to get him into the game. The D's trail by 3 goals. Approaching three-quarter time. Kerr again. Selwood taken high by White. West Coast circling at the moment. They really could punish Melbourne late in this term. Cox straight up the middle. Bizzle tried to get across, couldn't do so. Stengline's got it, and West Coast making their move at the MCG.
Again, what a beautiful kick from Dean Cox. Being such a big player and just the touch to know how far he could kick the ball. And look at the flighting of that ball right in front of between Bizzle and Rivers. Well, very important. Well, we've said it a lot. Very important kick, but those class players somewhere, and it is Kerr at the moment. He is the trouble. Maybe Uzo has to go on ball for 5 minutes, Wayne, just to take Chick up the ground to see if he can handle that.
Yeah, I don't mind that suggestion, Tony.
Stengline booted 4 goals for the season. This for a game-high lead for West Coast, and he's got it. Eagles lead by 24 points. The time is now for Melbourne. Must make a move between now and three-quarter time. Eagles have got their tails up.
Well, Tyson Stengline, he has been known to go forward. He likes to kick a goal. Not a lot of goals, but when he gets forward, he gets his opportunity. Had the job on Travis Johnson early in the first half and failed in that area because Travis Johnson was a good player. That's a strong mark, knowing he's going to get some body contact from outside. And a good finish.
Melbourne with the first 2 goals in this third term. The Eagles have responded 4 of the next 5. 24-point margin. Challenge firmly at the feet of the Demons now. Fletcher. The opposing number 7, Miller off the line. Got a handball out to Johnston. Travis. Hunter in pursuit. Centres the ball towards White. They've got a couple of players here loose now. Bizzle went without it. Sylvia, he's been busy in this third term. It's a vacant goal square, but getting back there first is Glass and sees it through for a rush behind.
Summed it up pretty quick, Colin Sylvia. Just couldn't quite get it through. Had a big term, Colin Sylvia. He is one player who has lifted 9 touches for the term. But Melbourne just a bit flat at the moment. Fletcher been everywhere. Wide to Banfield. Game just being played on West Coast terms at the moment. Melbourne need to do something to just swing the momentum, mix it up a little bit. Banfield called to play on, can go short Nikoski.
I think that 5-day break is definitely having some effect on this Melbourne side, Tony.
It was going to be an issue, wasn't it? If it was a physical first half like it was, it takes a fair bit out of you. That's out in the full.
It is. Fletcher couldn't quite get there, so maybe a chance here for Melbourne to manufacture something. McLean quickly to Green. Chips it up inside 50 for Uze. Clever. Great use of the body. And Adam Uze. We've mentioned he is the ignition for this Melbourne side this season. Can he get them going here late in the third?
Sure, you talked about, or Jason, you mentioned about putting him into the midfield. I think it might be time, if there is a reluctance to put him into the midfield, isolate him inside forward 50 and allow him to show his talent one-on-one with a Daniel Chick.
They're probably thinking that Russell Robinson's doing that job, but maybe point. 2 of them. Go with 2 of them.
His confidence player can kick goals in a hurry. Uze, D's need this one, and he misses to the narrow side. Difficult shot, 2 behinds to Adam Uze.
The other one's Brad Miller's only had 7 possessions, so he's been quiet. He's been nearly a 20-possession player over the last month.
Yeah, averaging 13 a game this season. So he's got half his work rate at the moment. As Wilpunda goes to Cox. Uze also running at 50%. He's averaging 15 touches a game, and he's had just 7. Banfield off defensive 50. Searching lead again from Stengline, showing his prowess across half forward. Embley's just kept running. Inside 50, Matera's lurking with intent. Spills to the back of the contest. Selwood will get there first for West Coast. Confronted by Sylvia, fierce tackle. Nicholson, Bizzle. Demons hold on this occasion. They find Rivers at half back.
It's a beautiful clearing kick by Clint Bizzle. Rivers wants to square the ball. He's that man Tony Shaw talked about. Brad Green needs to get himself involved. Just bombs it long. Chick. Third attempt, no play on the call. Well, I thought that was the mark. Braun overran the ball, as did McLean, but Davey, the excitement machine, he's got Uze in the pocket. If he looks up quickly, he does. Good vision, and got it to him just in time. Adam Uze.
Go back and kick the goal. Take it upon yourself.
As we look at this, well, what I thought was a mark to Daniel Chick. Quite clearly. 1, 2, 3. Well,
oh, yes, he held it enough right near the end.
Adam Uze, only a couple of moments ago from the opposite side of the ground. This an important goal. Uze, no, pushes it across the face of goal. So 2 important misses there by the stand-in kipper this afternoon for Melbourne.
But showing his ability to get on the end of it. If he can just start to convert, he, Robertson and Davey, they're the men that must fire inside 50 if Melbourne are to get back and win this game. They trail by 21 points late in the third term. Have on a couple of occasions been able to string together runs of 3 and 4 goals in the space of 10 minutes. Have they got the juice left in the tank to do it once again? Nikoski was a beautiful kick. And Glass took the mark just inside the line. Could go back inboard to Nikoski. Just says no, take a safer option late in the term. Looking to go long down the line. Hansen offers a lead now and head in that direction. It's been a tough day at the office for Ashley Hansen. Rivers has been his master. Miller, White, Hail Mary handball. Brown got on the end of it, just got boot to ball. Danger here. Sylvia committed his body, but West Coast have got numbers. Braun inside 50. Melbourne need to hold. Seaby paid it.
Well, Jeff White handballed inside the corridor, trying to create something, but there was 3 West Coast Eagles players around it. It spilled, and it was Ben Cousins got a little foot to keep the ball going forward towards goal that has set this goal up. Oh, good grab.
Very
good
clever
grab.
mark. Mark Seaby for his second goal for the term. Sneaks it home, does he?
Yes, he does, I think.
He does indeed. 27 points the margin. 2 goals to Seaby. Neil Danaher getting frustrated. You can feel this one starting to slip away.
Well, that's slipping away because we've just had 2 shots on goal from Adam Uze. You kick one, or maybe you kick both, then the game goes the other way, goes in the centre of the ground, but they're rebounding. That's, gee, they do. One thing to do that the West Coast Eagles do so well is switch the play from the corridor. They'll switch it one side, come back the other side, so it opens up the area where there's no pressure on the other side of the ground.
Well, the goal scorer, Mark Seaby, 2 third-quarter goals, now finds himself inside the centre circle, up against Jeff White. But against good sides, Tony, you've got to take your opportunities when they present. Seaby gets the boot to ball. Hansen coming through Cousins, but Sylvia, oh, this young man in a mature body, he's had a great third term. Oh, lovely tap on from Bruce to Maloney. High ball, Whelan. Banfield with the spoil. Glass there for support. Chick with strength, goes over the top to Kerr. This man, he's ignited this West Coast side. Has a bounce, fumbled the ball. He's got support. Selwood off a step, sets Braun a task. Sylvia won't get there in time. Michael Braun in game number 50 will just steady the ship for the moment. Heads down the line, long ball, Hansen, Rivers. Hits a fist on the ball, Selwood. Tunnels the ball out. Bouncing ball, getting across there was McDonald. Should have been taken high and wins himself a free kick.
Important play, that one, with just 20 seconds left on the clock. As it stands, Melbourne look like they'll head to the final term break. It's a 27-point deficit. She's going to take some catching. McDonald, high and long. Robertson will arrive late, and that will be it for 3/4 time. West Coast were challenged early in the term. Melbourne came out, kicked a couple of goals, got within a kick. And the Eagles showed their class once again. They booted 5 goals 3 to Melbourne's 3 goals 5. And that's what we talk about, taking your chances. 8 shots apiece. Yet West Coast extend their lead from 17 points to 28 points on the back of more accurate finishing. Phil Matera has 6 goals. Seaby has 2. Russell Robertson has 4 for Melbourne. Davey has 3. West Coast in control, 3/4 time, Saturday afternoon football at the MCG. It's the Eagles by 27 points.
holds the ball. Kerr with courage. That's a wonderful mark, Daniel Kerr, and backs himself and goes now. He's got a couple of eagles. Embley's one. Outer side of the ground. Wants to move it on quickly now. Short kick to the pocket. Lynch on the half volley in front of Nicholson. Gives it back to Embley. Good running. This will finish it off for a lovely goal. Across the face of goal. No. Embley signals. He's got it.
West Coast took their chances. Melbourne didn't. That was the story of the third term. The Eagles extending their lead. They booted 5 goals 3 to 3 goals 5, despite Melbourne going inside 50 19 times to 13. Just couldn't take their chances at three-quarter time. The D's need something special. They trail by 27 points as we head down to Glen Manton.
Thank you, Jason. Well, moving into this final quarter, you have to wonder, do Melbourne have the fresh legs? And looking at the statistics I've been able to glean from the interchange, Stuart, the West Coast Eagles have gone to the bench 36 times. Surprisingly, the Demons 25 times. With a short break, I'm not sure if that was the best use of the bench over the course of today.
It's nice when you've got so many options to rotate for John Worsfold. He's got so many to choose between. As we look at Neil Danaher ripping into his players at three-quarter time. In that third term, Kerr had 10 touches, Embley 9, Fletcher 8. Those three in particular, just outstanding.
Don't you miss it, Tony?
Ripping in or being ripped into?
Well,
either.
He must dye his hair, Neil, I reckon. There's no doubt he dyes his hair. You'd be grey by now, being in the game as long as he has. Just saw Maloney, McDonald, and I think it was, who else was it on the bench? McLean had gone on the bench, so they've got 3 runners on the bench. They might use them very quickly in this last quarter. They need a lift. They need a lift from Green and also Cameron Bruce. They haven't kicked a goal between them.
And for Uze to get involved, finish off some work. Melbourne need to make their move in the first 10 minutes. They trail by 27 points. Final term, Saturday afternoon football at the MCG. White, Johnston, Bruce. If they can get a goal, they can turn it into 2 or 3 quickly with a big crowd behind them. Whelan, here is Uze from 50, dragged down off the kick, it goes to the pocket. Robertson, play on the call. Wirapunda comes across. Ball out of bounds. Melbourne fans wanting a free kick for holding. He's booted for Russell Robertson. Melbourne were just 3 goal kickers today. Robertson 4, Davey 3, Holland 1.
Just didn't grab any jumper. If his jumper come away from his body, might have been a difference.
Again, Uze taken to the line by Chick. The D's just need some of their sparks to get involved and light the fire. Here's another chance. Cox versus White. Cox the tap. Here is Uze again lurking. Banfield boots a ball quickly. Gets it out of the danger zone. Johnston moves Selwood off the football cleverly. Inside 50. Robertson against Glass. Again play on the call. Chick at the back. High kick towards the middle. Sylvia back with the flight. Awkward bounce for Stenglein. Melbourne with numbers through Nathan Brown. Can look forward. They've got a 2-on-1 situation. And Miller gets on the end of it. Covered a lot of territory for little result today, Brad Miller. Just his 9th possession. Squares it up. Green. He'll go short. Shows a bit of it. Bizzle had to stand tall and did as Braun approached from behind. Now they throw it out wide once again, trying to find an avenue to goal. Rivers from 65, goes inside 50 to Davey, dropped what he could have taken at ground level, butters up. Handball, Whelan stood tall, tried to take Glass on, and Glass shattered him. Wirapunda, handball over the top. Fletcher, down the line to Selwood, and West Coast stand tall.
And stand tall they did. Selwood, he's got no one on the mark, the young man.
I thought they would have been ducking after that shattered glass.
To Nikoski, normally a penetrating kick, heads towards Lynch. And the big man for the Eagles on the second attempt takes a good mark. There's 1 goal, 1 for the afternoon. You'd think perhaps too far on this occasion.
He's a massive kick, massive kick.
And a massive unit. Quinton Lynch loads up. It's a high ball. Embley's got himself in front. Got away from Travis Johnson. Ends up taking a relatively easy mark. Directly in front, Andrew Embley. There's 1 goal, 2 for the afternoon.
Smart play when your man, Travis Johnson's had a couple of possessions in midfield, then take him straight to the square. You know Andrew Embley marks pretty well above his head. Travis Johnson wouldn't like it as a defender out of the square.
Wonderful afternoon of football. He's not done with yet. Andrew Embley kicks his second goal.
As I said, a very dangerous player, Andrew Embley. He's had 28 possessions, kicked 2 goals too, so it could have been a bigger day at the office if he had kicked straight. But he just identified what Travis Johnson doesn't do well, and that is defend out of the square. He might be pretty good off half-back, where he can use his skills, but in a marking contest, that's where he got him.
Marching out to a game-high 33 points. 4 minutes gone, final term. Cox versus White. White got the tap, went looking for Bruce. Had time to go back and get it. High ball will be called play on. White took it out of the air. Handball was to the run of Uze. Chick gathered it in. It's a free kick. It's coming back to Melbourne and Jeff White. Illegally disposed of once he got rid of the football. So White from inside the centre square. Spears it low inside 50. Uze almost a one-hander. Chick wearing him like a glove. Wheel and dispossessed. We're Punda. Gee, they've been good off half-back today, West Coast. Fletcher. Embley. Rivers. Rivers got across. Forced a contest. Got it to ground. Heffernan couldn't quite keep it in.
No, it was already out of bounds before it came off the boot.
So we'll have a throw in. They're experienced players inside their own defensive 50 today. The likes of Daniel Chick. They've just stood tall time and again under pressure.
Used the ball well off half-back, haven't they? Under pressure. Melbourne have got to hang in there now. Just don't want this game to blow out.
Cox and White yet again. Here's Fletcher. Braun. Embley. And they work it back to Dean Cox. Embley went to the back of Wirrapunda. Didn't realise it was coming. Still had time. Selwood. West Coast throwing it around. Embley now. Straight up the middle. Seaby versus Ferguson. At ground level, here's Rivers. Wheatley. Ball just sat up. Put himself under pressure. Went out wide towards Heffernan and or the line. Heffernan got there first. Steps around Judd. To Cameron Bruce on the half volley. Melbourne looking for a spark. To a 2-on-2. Hunter stood tall, couldn't take the mark. Miller got it down. Ball ends up with Johnston. Now White. Bruce on the overlap run. Chip kick inside 50. Good defensive fist from Staker. Got it away from Holland. Ball back to Holland. Bruce sells a dummy. Steps around Glass. Measures it. Wow. Drills it. D's needed that. They need a spark. You mentioned, Tony, the likes of Bruce, Green. Uze. They've got players full of class that can manufacture goals, and they need to find multiple avenues in this final term.
It's just been a game of, as I said, individual efforts, and he starts it here, Cameron Bruce, receives from Jeff White, kicks the ball in. You can see him just go out of screen then, follows up. Not a great handball, but he just runs on, a good shepherd, and sells the dummy and finishes off. That's fantastic team-lifting play.
All class, Cameron Bruce. That goal, his first for the afternoon, is his 150th career goal. He'll certainly do with a couple more of those goals from Cameron Bruce. Over the top was Green. Selwood tries to extract the ball and got a push in the back from Heffernan. There's still plenty of time, but you'd think, Tony, they'd have to get goals in quick succession, the Demons, if there are any chance to peg this lead back. Selwood goes towards Lynch. He's got a yard in front of Jack. Drop the mark, butters up. Big turning circle. Now bangs a high ball inside 50. Wheatley, Matera. The little man got up but couldn't take the mark. Follows up with a great tackle. The ball goes out of bounds. We'll have a throw in. Left forward pocket for the Eagles.
Now, they've also done this, the West Coast Eagles, at this stage, a good performance without Chris Judd being dominant, which is a great sign for them as a team.
Cox gets himself to the front position. Green somehow got a handball out in front of Nathan Brown. Gains an extra 25 yards. Ball's out of bounds and will go again. You talk about Judd with 14 possessions, Tony. Michael Braun, who's had a terrific year with 14, and Ben Cousins with 13. You'd think if they were the numbers of some of their prime movers, they'd struggle, but Embley, Fletcher and Kerr have been terrific.
That's what I mean. I said they had 6 class midfielders to 4 for Melbourne that I counted.
That's the beauty of the side, isn't it? Just can't keep them all down. Bruce trying to lift his team. Brown likewise. Goes to half forward. Uze out in front. Mark not paid. Play on. Johnston. Down the line. Brown kept running from 50. Goes to the pocket. Robertson. Tough shot from here, but Melbourne need to take every chance they get. He's booted 4 goals, Russell Robertson. And this to reduce the margin back to 21 points as we tick over 8.5 minutes in the final term. 2
players are really trying to lift Melbourne here. Travis Johnson's had a great game. Just his foot skills are brilliant. And that man, Cameron Bruce, he is running as hard as he has all game.
Thought about giving it off. Now he sets himself. Kicks for goal. Just fades across the face for a minor score. 4 goals, 2 to Russell Robertson. Margin 26 points, 9 minutes gone. We're Punda with the kick in. Off a step. Spotted Staker and finds him at defensive 50. Staker will go down the line. Kerr, his 25th touch. Just off the bench. A chance to rotate, keep the legs fresh.
Just wonder, Wayne, whether you roll the dice and say, let's see if we can get Jeff White forward and get Johnson on the ball. Someone who could mark in a pack.
Hunter got rid of his opponent, Heffernan. Done some good things today, Adam Hunter. He's got it just forward to centre wing. The lead from Matera. Weekly clears the contest. Embley at the back, the danger. Handball back to Fletcher. Now tries to put it to the advantage of Embley. Off a step, tumbles it towards the goal square. Dangerous position. Green, Ferguson. Went at the same ball, it spills to Seaby. West Coast building, the big unit swings it across the body. Green gets back, saves the day for the D's. Loose men on.
Miller wants it now. He'll get it. He's got plenty of space. He's got support and Wheatley. But the Demons send half forward. Can stream. Outer side of the ground now. The kick lets him down. It's a wobbling looking ball. Beats both players there. Mopping up for the moment, Wirrapunda. And the Eagles rebounding. Cousins got pushed as he got the kick away. Miller, was he held? Yes.
So they've butchered the ball going forward at times today, Melbourne.
Yeah. Miller should have handballed to Wheatley, who can run the lines and drive the ball longer.
Gets it off to Travis Johnson. Bruce, well, coming through there was Glass. Split the pack. And Cousins, he's away now. Quiet afternoon for the skipper. Terrific kick finds Selwood on the stretch. Miller standing the mark. He's got Hunter on the boundary line, but he ignores that. I think we're starting to see, Tony, the absence of David Neitz, that strong presence up forward for the Demons, has really come back to haunt them this afternoon. Aaron Davey gingerly gets to his feet. Underrated player, Adam Hunter. Squares the ball to Wirrapunda. Heads wide. That's a poor kick. Rivers sees the ball out of bounds for a throw-in.
I think it's a lack of a big marking player and a pack player. And even Neitz doesn't do it that often. He's a leading player. But Holland, and you can just see there, Glass only take that mark. But Holland's only had 3 possessions the whole game. He had 9 up to quarter time.
And Miller's a player who gets out on the lead and works hard up the ground. Doesn't take a lot of goals, doesn't take a lot of pack marks.
And I know people say modern football, there's not a lot of pack marks you're able to take in the forward line, but you get your opportunities. And that's why I say maybe Jeff White now go forward and straighten them up a little bit, get Johnson into the ruck. You have to kick goals to win the game now, the D's.
Fletcher. To 29 touches for him.
Good player.
Great player. Goes to 50. Lynch. Selwood. Good hands in close. Hunter to the top of the square. Wheatley in best position. Takes the mark. Melbourne need to roll the dice a little bit. Play on at all costs. Get the ball moving. Time starting to become an enemy. Wheatley goes short to Holland in the back pocket. West Coast looking to man up. Melbourne needs some hard run now. Some real gut-busting run as Davey comes off. He looks sore.
And Johnson will come on, see what happens with White.
They go the other way instead. Wheatley now can run away from half-back. West Coast working hard at manning up, just giving Melbourne nothing to kick to at the moment. Goes short over the top to McLean at defensive 50. Now he looks up. He's got the same problem. Miller offers a half lead to the wing. Will probably lead again. Goes shorter than that. Awkward one. Wheatley tries to tidy up. You can sense a turnover coming. Ball still alive. Matera puts it out in front of himself and gets himself a free kick.
Oh, I think the umpire's saying that he handballed out in front and then got grabbed.
Well, Phil's booted 6. His career best is 7 against St Kilda back in round 3 of 2003.
Made the most of it. That's what you do.
I can tell you, he'd know that.
Oh, yes.
So
he only played the umpire of the day, and that's what he did then.
So Matera to go for goal number 7. Chance to equal his best. Only one man has kicked more goals in a West Coast jumper than him. That's Peter Sumich. And this to drive a stake through the Demons' heart to cross the face of goal. It's still there. Edwards, a big grab. Kerr at ground level. Johnston sneaks away. Demons still alive. Brown up the middle. Can they manufacture on the counter-punch?
He's got Johnson. Good running from Travis Johnson. Now gets forward to the centre. The ground opens up now. This is an important kick. Sets a task for Uze. Bruce, he's already got one. Can this be 2? Cameron, step up to the plate. Great finish. Great play. Well done, Melbourne.
They hang in again, Tony. Margin 20 points.
Yeah, how good was Travis Johnson? Travis Johnson has taken the ball from the back pocket, kicked it into the corridor, ran again. Here he is, but he started that in the back pocket, got the ball off the pack, couple of bounces. Wasn't the greatest kick of all time, but fantastic front and centre. Cameron Bruce and Chris Judd. Even the good players learned from that. Wasn't goal side of his man.
Bit of noise around the MCG now as the Demon Army try to lift their players. This game is still alive. 20 points of difference at the 15-minute mark. Melbourne have pushed Paul Johnson forward to be that big marking target to give them a contest. White in the ruck. Melbourne need a couple in a hurry. Really get up and going. Sylvie got the hands free. Here's Bruce. He is lifting his side. Goes inside 50 towards the pocket. Robertson!
Great mark.
Brilliant one-hander. They have the mercurial talent. And Russell Robertson, a chance to go back and kick his 5th and reduce the margin to 14 points.
Well, if he didn't take the mark, he deserved the free kick because Darren Glass was all over him there. But Robbo up to the task.
This is a big kick. For a 14-point margin. Robertson hits the post. 4 goals, 3 to Russell Robertson this afternoon. Just over 8 minutes left. Still time for the D's. They trail by 19 points. And they are on a bit of a roll at the moment.
I tell you what, Cameron Bruce has had the impact of having Chris Judd taken out of the midfield because he has been dominant. So Chris Judd's gone to a half-forward flank now. Clint Bizzle's manning him up.
Michael Braun moves out the interchange side of the ground. Oh, good spoil by Sylvia. He's one of those other young players you've talked about, Tony. He's had a good second half.
Cameron Bruce, 10 possessions for this quarter. That's why Chris Judd's out of the midfield.
It's 7 from Travis Johnston as well.
And Cousins on the bench still.
McDonald had to do the ruck work. Sylvia, good strength, got it out to McDonald. Kerr sees him over the boundary line for a throw-in as Cox now replaces Seaby.
Gee, 19 points down. You'd think unless Ben Cousins was injured, he'd be out in the ground.
Well, neither ruckman got a distinctive tap out. Sylvia. And he wins himself a free kick, Colin Sylvia.
Done some good things.
Just speaking of Cousins, I think he may be asthmatic, and I saw him about 10 minutes ago, was just struggling to breathe a little bit, looked to be in some distress, so might be having a problem on that front.
Goes short to White. Goes to the fat side of the ground towards Robinson. He'll have to wait. Glass there to put pressure. Arriving is Brown. Glass, good shepherd, got it to Fletcher. The little number 7 gives it to Cox.
Every time they've been challenged, haven't they? They've found something, West Coast.
Continues his dominance as the Eagles' number 1 ruckman in the absence of Michael Gardner. The big man goes forward. Embley, Lynch, keeps his feet, Dishes the ball out to Judd. Chris Judd, what can he do? Pulls the ball across the face of goal. Sneaks in for a behind. As we go down to Glen Mountain.
Expect Ben Cousins back on the ground very, very shortly. He's been talking with the match staff on the bench, and I'm looking to see him move into the forward line to finish this quarter out.
Johnston with a kick in. 20 points the margin, 7 minutes remaining. Still there for the D's. It'd be a mighty win from here. Bruce at defensive 50. Sylvia working hard to the wing. Bruce ignores it. Goes shorter to Brown.
Oh.
In the end, it was a sort of 50-50 kick, and Braun was able to cut it off. It almost needed to go over the head of Sylvia and Brown.
He was in between both, wasn't it? Landed right in between both. And again, the opportunities, you have to take them now. Players are tired.
Ben Cousins back into the game, as you can see. Centre of screen, front of this pack. Braun stood up in the tackle. Sylvia's been fantastic, particularly since half-time. Johnston, awkward against Kerr. Towards half forward for West Coast. Edwards stands up in the tackle, gets taken down by Bizzle. Dropped the football, holding it.
Oh, umpire.
Umpire said he did not dispose of it. He put it on the ground, I think.
Oh, well, how else was he going to get rid of it now? He can't do anything. He's had no prior opportunity. You put it down, the ball's down, and then you tap it out. Gee, that was harsh.
Bizzle.
I don't agree with this. The game's 6 minutes to go. You've got to get the ball directly and quickly inside forward 50. Don't chip around with it anymore.
They've got to roll the dice, don't they? It's got to be full out attack. If they concede a goal, they lose the game, but they've got to kick 4 to win it.
In the back, got a chance here. You're right, Wayne. You've got to have something up your sleeve, something to tell you to click on to change your style, because the game is out of your grasp at the moment.
Time running out for the D's. We're inside 6 minutes.
Normally it comes from the runner with a catch cry or something like that. Everybody knows, all right, we've got to go longer and more direct.
McDonald inside 50 to the pocket. Robertson again couldn't hang on. At ground level, can he create something? Squares it up. It's a 2-on-1. At the back, here's Uze. Gets around onto the left boot. Good body pressure from Chick. Kick will drop short. Davey taken off it.
Aaron Davey for holding the man.
Just when time seems to be running out for Melbourne, they just hang in. A goal here makes it 14 points with 5 minutes remaining, and they'll still be alive if Aaron Davey can kick his 4th. Kick 2 in the first term, 1 in the third. And this to reduce the margin to 14 points as Michael Braun comes off for a spell in game 150. Davey to keep the D's alive. He does! 14 points the margin on Saturday afternoon football at the MCG.
Well, Brent Staker, he was the culprit, lost sight of the ball, and Aaron Davey just stood his ground. Staker ran past the ball, put the hand over the shoulder. Definite free kick. But gee, they've hung in there, haven't they? Everybody was saying the 5-day break, they'll run out of legs. Well, they're coming on strong now, and I'll tell you, there's a fair bit of heart there, and a lot of it coming from their leaders. I think Travis Johnson's been brilliant. Cameron Bruce has just had a quarter. Just you remember, they are really having a dip, the D's.
Irrespective of the result, they have been brave, the Demons. $14 points the margin. Just over 5 minutes remaining. Cousins, the skipper, back on the ground, gets himself involved. High ball coming through Nicholson. Nikoski for the quick reply. Wants the left boot. High ball coming back, coming back. Decision pending. He's got it.
I was about to say, Tony, the importance of centre clearances at this stage of a game. Ben Cousins back into the game. Went straight back into the middle of the ground. Won an important ball and rights the ship for his side.
Oh, magnificent clearance. And I've got to say, there's a lot of people out there, yeah, we see some games which are not up to the standard and you don't like the style of football, but you'd go anywhere or a long way to see a game like this. This is magical.
Margin back out to 20 points. A big goal to Mark Nikoski. Melbourne needs some clean footy out of the middle with 5 minutes remaining. Kerr taken down. Throws it into open space. Here's Cousins again lifting. Responding for his team. Awkward kick towards the 50. Lynch will get there on the bounce. It'll ricochet Nicholson fumbles, harassed by Hanson. Ferguson quick hands to Wheatley, steps around one, just gets boot to ball, and again Ben Cousins. He's been important the last couple of minutes. Looking for a target short. Selwood snuck to the pocket, no one picked him up, can measure it, and missed to the narrow side. Melbourne get possession of the footy with 4 minutes 20 remaining. Need a couple of coast-to-coast goals. Must go direct now. They need 4 to win it in 4 minutes.
So that's where Paul Wheatley kicks out from fullback, goes short, just bomb it. Big torp down the middle. He kicks the ball 60 with a drop punt. Doesn't have to be a torpedo. Now go down the middle.
Must move it. Must just move it on. Needs someone to present. Good hard running to the wing from Uze. One-on-one against Chick. Suddenly it's 2-on-1 and it's Embley. Matera one-on-one inside 50. Embley will go long towards the square. Matera works his man off it and kicks a goal! Eagles will win! Embley gets his third. Every time they've been challenged this afternoon, the West Coast Eagles have dug deep and found something.
Well, again, they did not have a plan for this late in the quarter. Paul Wheatley comes out short. They switch the play back. They haven't got anybody free because the Eagles have done their job. The first kick should have been either play on 10 yards down the middle, take the man on the mark out and kick it to the centre square. Just kick it that far to get it in your area. Bad option.
They've responded, the Eagles. They'll notch up their 12th win of the season. They take on Carlton back at home next week, then the Kangaroos at Telstra Dome, and then Brisbane back at Subiaco. So 2 of those 3, as you'd think, would be wins again for the Eagles, but they've responded. Round 9 against Collingwood, Tony. Only a few weeks ago, they were really showing up on the biggest stage in AFL, but they have answered every challenge this afternoon.
Every time they've come out of Melbourne, they've lifted. And we'll talk about the needs factor, but there's a couple of forwards who are pretty well good players out of this side for the West Coast Eagles. That's Gardner and Sampi.
Kerr, what an afternoon he's had, as has this man on screen, Embley to Wirrapunda. Fletcher, well, the names just keep coming. They've all had terrific afternoons, these players for the West Coast Eagles. High ball, they're not done with yet. But Big Jack, strong mark, last line of defence. He will leave for the moment.
Just under 3 minutes remaining.
Got to take some risks now, got to play on. Well done, Nathan Brown.
Goes short to Miller.
Kick it to a one-on-one.
Thumps it long. Kicked it to a one-on-none.
It's free kick, though. That forces an error.
Will go to Holland. Holland moves it on quickly to 50. Uze will take it. 45 out.
Has to have a shot.
He's booted 3 behinds this afternoon, Adam Uze. Coming off 5 goals last week. Playing his 191st consecutive game, an amazing stretch all the way back to round 8 of 1997. From right on 50. Shaped it left to right and kicks a goal. Uze gets his first. Margin back to 21 points at the 26.5-minute mark.
Well, again, they do not lay down. They will not lay down. You can see they're out on their feet. No doubt the short week has had an impact. But I think also there's class areas within the West Coast Eagles where they're a little bit better than Melbourne. And that, like I said, I think they've got 6 class midfielders. Melbourne have got 4. If they can bolster that or get a lot more out of their lesser loans, they're a chance of beating West Coast.
The Demons, 4 goals in this last term. Jeff White has worked tirelessly all afternoon, as has Dean Cox. Not long to go. Cousins to Cox to Kerr. Good tackle. Aaron Davey rewarded with a holding the ball decision. Probably one of the only times we've seen in recent weeks that Daniel Kerr hasn't been able to shrug the tackler, Tony. Green has got McLean, he's broken. Banfield in pursuit. Brock McLean loads up from outside 50. High ball. Holland's there. Good mark. Strong mark.
I'd be sending the runner straight out to Aaron Davey and say, son, you're going to be exciting for us for a long period of time, but if you ever lose that part of the game, the chasing and tackling, you'll be a lesser player. That was fantastic work then.
I couldn't agree with you anymore, Tony. There's so much said about the great marks and goals of this game, but the defensive pressure is one of the highlights of AFL football. Ben Holland to bring the margin back to 15 points. The clock ticks down. Ticks truly.
Well, Ben Holland, 16 possessions. He had 9 of them in the first quarter, so he's had 7 in 3 quarters. Kicked a goal in the first and a goal in the last. He's got a big body, and look, he showed on that occasion he's got courage too. Didn't know what was coming from behind.
But also, when a player wants and makes their mind up that the ball is mine, you give yourself every opportunity.
$35,653. Margin back to 15 points. The D's didn't deserve to be done by 6 or 7 goals today, so good to see them fight back late in the game. Make it a true reflection of how close this contest has really been. It's ebbed and flowed all day. Here's Lynch. Handball over the top, was looking for Cousins' run. He's run down by Bizzle. Farms it off to Fletcher, back to Cousins from the pocket. Will square it up to the goal square. Edwards attacks it, got an awkward bounce. Taken down by Ferguson. Spills to Nicholson. Now McDonald. Bizzle. Davey and Bruce. Davey takes Stengline on and just runs away.
Keep going, Aaron.
Banfield, a great chase. Took him out of bounds before he kicked it. Great effort from the veteran, Drew Banfield. 31 years of age, the only player remaining from the 94 premiership side, and he worked hard in the dying seconds of this game.
That is a great effort, isn't it? Gee, the thought process of all players from both sides has been brilliant today.
Judd. Cousins has been sensational since coming on midway through the final term when his side needed him. Lynch out in front of Nicholson. Had to work hard for every possession today.
He's kicked the boot back and it's made contact with Alistair Nicholson's face or chest as the siren goes.
West Coast victorious at the Melbourne Cricket Ground by 15 points. But maybe we'll see them meet again on a bigger stage at some stage in the near future.
Well, it's a 15-point margin, but you go back to Adam Uze, Tony, in that third term. He misses 2 goals that were relatively easy shots. Might have made the result a bit different, but great players and good players like Adam Uze is, normally you'd go back and you'd expect them to kick those goals.
Yes, but I don't think we can blame Adam. I know what you're saying. There was a time in the game where it could have turned. Look, I just think it's been a pleasure to be at a game today where both coaches have given their teams freedom to play. I'm just looking forward to the next time these two sides get together. 15 points in the end, not a big margin. I always thought the West Coast Eagles, though, Wayne, when they were challenged, those really class players, you know, I thought Embley was brilliant, Fletcher, Kerr, they found something to give them another breathing point, and it might have been 5 minutes. You do that 4 times in a game, that wastes 20 minutes of a game. So, look, congratulations to both these teams, magnificent individual efforts. Matera, of course, kicking his 6 goals, Robinson with his 4, but there was others out there too. Davey with 4 also.
Daniel Kerr, 29 possessions, was outstanding. Here he is with Glenn Manton.
Well, Daniel, that was a damn good game.
Yeah, it's a good win. It's top of the table clash, and it was good to come out on top.
Mate, does that dispel some of the myth about the MCG for the West Coast Eagles?
I suppose so. We've had 2 wins in a row here, so we're trying to make it. We're trying to make it like home, and I think we're slowly doing that.
How do you make it like home? I noticed a lot of on-field talk. Is that part of the plan to really gel as a team when you're here and take the crowd away from the opposition?
Yeah, we just want to be a tight unit, and we're slowly turning into a really tight unit.
Well, mate, 29 possessions today, a huge influence in the game, an amazing amount of courage you showed. Now I'll allow you to do the easy part of the day, and that's walk off the field with your mates.
Thanks very much.
Good sides win anywhere, Tony. West Coast are a good side. Forget about the MCG myth. They can play good football anywhere on their day. They have such a star-studded assembly of talent. They've got such an even spread. And you look down the line today, guys like Ashley Hansen had a quiet day, just 4 possessions. They still managed to bob up. Other blokes carried the load, shared the load, and in the end, they thoroughly deserved their 15-point win. West Coast 15-15, 105. Melbourne 13-12, 90. Saturday afternoon footy at the MCG.